stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
What's up, Crypto Fam? Welcome to the Extra Bullish Hour with your hosts, the Bagman, Berserker, Uncle Buster, and Fuma Boys. Smash those likes and the subscribe button on the way in. Thanks, fam.
Pump it up, pump it up, pump it up. Gotta pump my bags up, pump it to the moon. Pump my bags up. XRP, pump it to the moon. Pump it up, pump my bags up, pump it up.
Now buckle up and let's get bullish. Extra bullish.
Pump it up. XRP to the moon.
Get your bags up. Let's go.
Welcome to the party. Extra bullish hour. Extra bullish. We got Berserker, Uncle Buster, Fuma Boys Nerdy, GDLT, and our special guest, Steven, in the building. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Let's pump this up.
Pump it up. Fuma, you need a spot, bro? Let me spot you.
Gotta pump my bags up. Pump it to the moon. Pump my bags up. XRP, pump it to the moon. Pump it up. Pump my bags.
Good times.
Welcome to the extra bullish hour. We're here every Sunday at 10:05 a.m. PST every Sunday for the extra bullish hour. We got Steven Nerayoff in the building. Appreciate you joining us, Steven. Steven Nerayoff, quick intro for him. He's an internet AI and blockchain pioneer. He's also an attorney, venture capitalist, and holds 45 U.S. international patents, mostly in AI. In the blockchain industry, Steven has been an advisor or investor in more than 25 leading projects, including Ethereum, T0, Polymath, Casper Labs, Lisk, Ion, and many, many more. Welcome to the party, Steven. Appreciate you jumping in. What's up, guys?
Thank you for having me. Looking forward to it.
Yo,
Steve, good morning.
Good
Thanks
morning.
for having us, bro. We're super excited to bust this wide open and just talk about all the stuff that a lot of people don't like to talk about or don't want to talk about, or because you've been putting so much effort into all the tweets and all the stuff that's coming out, man, about this, and a lot of people just don't want to hear it. They're either in denial or they're complicit. But thanks for coming on today, bro. So when it all started, how'd you really even get into this, man? You became an influential, person in this whole space when it comes to, being one of the, starting members. You were with Charles right in the beginning and all that good stuff. You want to elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I've been in this space since 2010. I mean, I have a tweet here that I don't know, makes people happy or sick, but it was Bitcoin at 30 cents in December of 2010. I was the network statistics. So I was like, I knew Charles from BitShares. I knew Vitalik because he was writing Bitcoin magazine. And then when he had a Miami conference where he gave the speech, about Ethereum, he contacted me. And, a guy that used to work for me told him I could fix what they can't fix. And what that meant was they wanted to do a crowd sale. And they were told by, I believe, the SEC and by like a dozen or so law firms, it's an unregistered sale of securities. There's no way around it. You can't do it. And there had been a couple before. Like Ethereum was not the first crowd sale, actually. It was actually the fourth. There were three before that. And those guys, I don't even know if you put an email address. It was like literally no KYC. You just threw in your Bitcoin and you got their coin back. So they wanted, to me, it looked like they actually wanted to do something properly. And when I read the white paper, I got it right away. Like what, the difference, to me, I mean, the best way I could put it was like, whoa. And when I saw Bitcoin, I was like, is this like the new monetary system? And then when I saw Ethereum, when I saw the white paper, I'm like, this is like an operating system, where, and the whole DApp concept was pretty cool. I mean, it wasn't that I wasn't unfamiliar with smart contracts, because I've been, I was following, I'm going blank, Nick, I think came up with them like in the 90s. Uh, as a lawyer, and so like I knew the concept of smart contracts, but the way he did it with the EVM and everything was just actually it wasn't really unique. He kind of got it from Thomas, but that's another story. So in essence, what you're asking me is they came to me and said, "Can you figure out a way to get us to be able to sell in a crowd sale in a compliant manner?" We didn't know whether or not that meant with the U.S. or without the U.S. That was like a huge elephant in the room. Because if it was out the U.S., your risks go down tremendously. Vitalik was very much in favor of including the U.S. And so it's actually in Camilla Roos's book. I mean, I didn't know she was going to quote this, and I said, "Yeah, I can do this." Not sure why I said that, but they're like, well, "How?" And I said, "I have no effing idea." And so I didn't, but I looked to him. It was actually in the corner. It was Charles, Lou, Joe, and Vitalik. And I looked at him. I said, "If you give me enough time, I'll figure this out." and I think it really just like I haven't practiced law in a long time. Right? I'm not a securities lawyer, right? But I've been running tech companies since the internet days in Silicon Valley. So, I understand the tech. I'm not a coder, but I understand the law, and I'm not the smartest lawyer out there. But it was this combination of those two that I think got me to be able to see things from just a different angle than the lawyers were seeing it, and then the tech people were seeing it. So I can explain how that happened, but let me know what you want to ask.
No sound on you, Berserker.
Yeah, Berserker, your sound went low.
Well, yeah, you've been going ham on Twitter. You've been going really fire on Twitter, and we've got some stuff coming out. And this is one of the most heinous things, like as far as corruption is concerned, and the vastness of this is just massive. And I maybe perhaps you can elaborate a little bit on what's coming, because we got all kinds of back and forths. We've got a lot of people ignoring this, which is really suspect. Really big players are silent on all fronts, and that tells a lot. That tells that's worth 1,000 words right there. But maybe you can elaborate on what's going on. Please.
Yeah, it's first it's certainly for me, and I can imagine people anybody that is an XRP and frankly everybody that's not in Ethereum, because it's affected the entire space. And it's frustrating that there's all these people not covering it. You look at the top, just crypto. This transcends crypto, and I'm going to explain what I mean by that. But just look at the top crypto magazines. They covered me all the time before this happened, right? And they would contact me constantly for comments and everything. So, and then all of a sudden this happens, and I get one piece, which they all copy, and it was a hit piece. After I win an unprecedented dismissal of federal indictment, they're questioning my credibility. And they don't even mention exactly why that I found out what I found out, and I'll explain that in a second. But the vastness of this is so time. By the way, with those people, it's kind of at this point, I'm glad that they stay silent, because it's going to be so clear who was complicit in not amplifying this news and bringing it out to the public, right? So who was bought and paid for. But the vastness of this is, so I got my case dropped in May or so of last year, and that was 4 years, and so it's been less than a year now. You're really talking about kind of three distinct corruptions, cover-ups, however you want to look at it, right? Each one of those are unprecedented in scope, size, depth, magnitude, and historically. I mean, I think like Watergate's like a joke compared to this. Like this should take on the new name, you know, in Urban Dictionary or whatever. Like it's, I mean, like one of them, I'll just give you like, I'll give you kind of like the high level is like, just look at my prosecution, right? So that entire thing was fully fabricated. But all right, that sometimes you have like a prosecutor that goes rogue or something. No, we actually found the documents that the SEC, at minimum, okay, there's more, but I'm just going to say what was official. The SEC led the prosecution. That's a civil division, so it's not allowed to lead a criminal prosecution. With the DOJ and the FBI, we found the documentation that they were prosecuting me on the FBI's in their documents, that they actually fabricated it. Because when they showed it to me, I'm like, I've never seen those documents. Those are not my documents. I don't know what you're talking about. And so, like that, just forget crypto for a second. That I talked to. I'm not going to mention my attorney, but everybody knows who this guy is, right? And he's much bigger than crypto. And you guys will hear who it is, but it's like the biggest of the big. And he looked at me and he said, you're like the unicorn I've been looking for my whole career. And I said, why? And he said, and I don't like, I'm not using this word, right? But a few other people have said it. But like this interagency coordination, you're talking about dozens of people all committing criminal acts in order to prosecute me. Like, and at the time, I didn't really know why they were doing this. I had no idea that this was, related to Ethereum or anything of that. And it's kind of like, some people call it the deep state or what, but it's kind of like the first time somebody's actually shown this type of coordination, at the federal level. And it turns out it's not only domestic, it's international, so that's kind of like that. I think when people see, even if you just read my motion to dismiss, which I put out there and it's publicly available, like you read that, you're like, for anybody that's not in maybe like, and that they think is in a free country, they'll realize like, whoa, I don't live in the country that I think I live in. Like that this could actually happen in a country like mine, right? It's like, I don't have the liberties and there's nothing to protect me. And I'm just giving you just one example. Even after, so what they didn't count on is they said I extorted this company, which like, they said I extorted $4 million from a company that was holding $500 million of tokens of mine. Like, so like that makes a lot of sense, right? What they didn't count on was the negotiations that I had, they claimed I extorted them on. It was on Skype video, 2.5 hours. I had the whole thing recorded. Right. So, at one point we finally went in and said, all right, like this is enough. Here's your extortion. And in there, the woman that's claiming I extorted actually yells at me. She says, we're giving you more than you're asking for. What are you arguing about? Because there was a delay and I didn't hear her. She thought I was upset. I'm like, so they say they're giving me more than I'm asking for, and you're saying I extorted them. I think there's a problem here, right? Here's the video. They continue to prosecute me. Like, that's the country we live in. Like, they know they knew I was innocent to begin with, but now, they were freaked out that I had this video. But, like, that should scare anybody. Like, forget about me. I mean, it just scared anybody.
Bro, I read up on that extradition bullshit, and they drop charges, too. That speaks volumes when they drop charges. That means they got nothing.
Yeah, usually the FBI has a 98% conviction ratio, and either someone turned on you or you turned on somebody. Do you think this was also a thing to get you on their side because they have something for somebody else down the road? Or do you think that because of what they had to focus on you, they were just going after you?
So, it's pretty clear. I was the target, and it was because of what I knew. Ironically, I wouldn't have realized what I knew had they not come after me. So whoever made the call to preemptively take me out, like, I don't think they're getting a promotion next year because I probably would have never realized any of this shit. I wouldn't I wasn't paying attention to like what they were doing at that level. But it wasn't only what I knew; it was documentation that I had that could blow this wide open. On the other hand, when they got me, even on my arrest, like, a lot of people like think it's kind of like a movie, but this actually happened. They threw me in a freaking van, like on the floor of a metal van, and they handed me this list of like every OG in the space, and they're like, "All right, just give me information." And they were, it wasn't even illegal information. I'm like looking at him, and he's like, "Give me." They said, "If you don't have anything like criminal, so like, where did they go on vacation? Who's their girlfriend? Where did they trade?" Like literally, these are the words that they said. And I'm like,
Can you say the
"What
name of
the
that
hell
task
is
force
going
for
on?"
everybody? I know that's a special
What?
task force. That had to be a special task force. Did they
Yeah.
have
So,
that task force has a name?
phew, there's a number of them, right? So the
Yeah. Keep
yeah,
going.
yeah, yeah.
Sorry.
There's a 2014 report that I recommend you guys look at. It came out in the Hinman emails, right? That Empower Oversight got. That
Yeah.
should freak people out because it shows you in 2014 the number of task force. It also shows something else that they were interviewed people from almost every major department, the Treasury, SEC, so forth and so on. But the first line that it says is, "We interviewed the governors of the Board of the Federal Reserve." It wasn't like personnel. Like it was like the chairman of the Federal Reserve and the other governors. Like that's how high a level and serious they took this in 2014. The task force. So the DOJ has its own crypto task force. That's one, right? But then there's another one that Hinman was deeply involved in, and I'm sure my name shows up a lot in that one. And that was the one at Treasury. I think it's like FOSC or FSOC, something like that. That I think is like where the mothership is because it's actually physically the locate. The meetings were held in the Treasury building. So like, I mean, if you go to the top level of, it's like Treasury, then Federal Reserve, and then God, right? Like that's, well, I don't know, maybe God. It's not maybe only Federal Reserve, right? Like whatever. I don't know. Paolo would have something to say about that, but that's where this was being directed from, in my opinion. But it was definitely being pushed by the SEC. And the interesting thing is the people, I can get into this, but the people and the timing is what makes it clear why they were targeting me, because it was literally the same exact people, and I'm so thankful to the XRP Army for doing all this research because it really helped me put the pieces together, and then I had stuff that nobody else had. So then there are these other two pieces, like also on like Ethgate is, I don't know, there's no known corruption in my opinion that rises to that level, and I mean that in so many different ways, like the breadth of people involved, the importance of it, the fact that there's international, like supposedly not allies of ours, kind of directing all of this, and then I'm going to add I'm not announcing it right here. There's another thing that they did, that same group of people, that was like just as bad as what they did in Ethgate, and it involves the same CCP entities, and nobody knows about this. But for some reason, yeah, it's like kind of weird because I was instrumental in that one too, as much as I was in Ethereum. I'm like Crypto Waldo here, like I show up everywhere. So they had a reason to take. They had two reasons to take me down.
Yeah.
Again, neither one of which I would have known about. And then the third part I would just say is that why this is so like massive is I'm really grateful for those who've watched Boring Sleuth from Truth Labs, and being around the space as long as I have. I'm not even gonna talk about the influencers, but the sleuths out there, like most of those dudes are on the payroll, or they're directly or indirectly they're benefiting from circle going around and around, right? And it, we this is like the one guy that's actually honest. Like he's got no skin in the game. Neither do I, by the way. This only hurts me, like doing what I'm doing. Right? It's and we were putting our lives on the line, and all of us, and he's gone through, and so like if I close the coffin, he kind of puts the nail in it, like because it's on chain data, And so like when I say like, I knew the ICO I didn't know at the time, but like looking back, I realized what had happened. It's a longer story, but you can just kind of like cut right through that because Boring like's got the on-chain data, and you like see Joe's wallet doing, guess what, splitting up into hundreds of other wallets, right, and like going into the ICO, the ETH ICO, rinse, wash, and repeat. And the weird thing is, like, almost the whole 42 days, me and this dude were sitting in the same office, like, and this was going on. I kind of should have picked up on it. But one time he said, "I wonder if something's going to come in soon, like a big one." And then, like 5 minutes later, this like big buy came in. I was like, "Whoa!" Like, how do you figure that out? I'm like, but
So they
it
were
was also
washing
seemed
money.
to be very
It
programmatic.
sounds to me like they were washing money. Like either they were washing it for somebody or somebody was in there
Yeah.
washing money.
So that was really
That's a
that's
classic cook.
insightful of you.
I'm sorry, that's a
Yeah,
classic cook.
Yeah, it's kind of cool because not cool, but like it's this was clearly set up to be. This was not like where people think, all right, there's this platform and there's this cool kid or weird kid or whatever the fuck you want to call it, Vitalik, doing his thing, and then he got corrupted. No, that's not what happened. Like this was clearly, prearranged and set up from day one. Right. So, and I think you're right, Puma, that the initial intent was to wash a lot of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
But there was this secondary intent now that I'm looking back and I understand, I can see it in a different perspective. This was, in my opinion, there was three purposes behind this. That was one. Purpose number two was to use this as the greatest fraud machine ever known to mankind. And like, I apologize to the world for because Joe was like right there. I know he talks about like I did illegal shit. Like you didn't know, like I've seen him write a legal document. It was like in crayon, but I taught these guys when
he's damn near retarded. He's a damn sociopath. That guy. I don't like that guy at all.
Man, this is
I think I'm being.
You're watching Joe Lubin. You eat crayons.
Can I slow this down for all us? Can I slow this down for all of us C+ students? And if I say something wrong, correct me.
When I feel,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Actually, when I looked at him one day, I started consensus with him. Actually, Charles and I started it originally, and Charles left, and I invited Joe in, and then I was just like, exactly. I looked at him one day, and I'm like, this guy's like a sociopath, and I had upwards of potentially half of consensus. I didn't care. I was like, just take it, go. I'm like, I don't want it. I did that with almost close to 1 million ETH, and I never once regretted it at any point. When ETH was at 4,000, none of this was happening. Like, I didn't care. It was like I knew I did what the right thing. Now I'm like grateful because like my hands are so clean. I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars. So yeah, those three things. But
it sounds like me when ETH was originally set up, they probably had some backers that said, "Hey, we got this kid over here. We can help him with the tech, do the setup, but you're going to cut us this on a pre-coin." I'm speaking because you probably can't talk about it like this. So if I'm wrong, just say stop, and I'm cool with it. So they had some backers. They started the coin out. They said, "Hey, here's our pre-sales or pre-ICO," and they push those out. Then you got the code that goes out, and everyone start mining, and you're seeing the wallets flip and big pumps coming in. But it's like, who's bringing this in? You already did your pre-ICO, but the coin's already out. But then now big chunks of cash are coming in. Is that did I miss something there?
Yeah, there clearly were major backers behind this, right? So that entity that's very tied in Wang Sheng, and I apologies to my Chinese friends that they keep telling me I mispronounce it, and I try. I really do. They like we have them like real clear. There's like these groups, right? And Boring can explain it better, but I knew that they were around, because like I knew, I did work and I knew with it. I never had a problem. I liked these guys. It was Bo Shen from Pembushi and the Hash Key guys. Right? I had no idea that they were associated with anything, nor do I have any reason to believe that those guys ever did anything wrong. I mean, other than their subsidiaries or whatever, right? But, like, I'm not, Bo still follows me on X, and he was a nice guy, and I didn't see anything wrong there. But when you look at the parent company and you see the wallet, um, it's clear that that's one big chunk. And then there's another chunk that's really clear that that's Joe. And Joe has been on the record in saying he's never been close to even 0.5%. And they're saying, I don't believe he never owned more than 0.5%. I'm like, that's not what he said. He said, I've never been close to 0.5%. And so if you own 40%, you're not close to 0.5%, right?
Yeah, he told the truth.
Easy.
No,
He
he's
told the
playing
truth.
with words. That's what he's doing. He's playing with words because I will say that's true because I have how much he got as a contributor, for his effort, and it was significantly less than 0.5%. But that's just one of his wallets. That wallet is associated with a whole bunch of other wallets where Gary Gensler said it's 10%, which kind of in itself is weird. Like, I mean, you're the chairman of the SEC. You're saying this is an illegal securities offering, and you're not doing anything about it. You're letting it keep this, preferential status. Right? It's like you said it in 2018 at MIT, not anybody else. Why do you even know that, by the way? That's kind of curious. Why does he even know that?
He knows the script.
Isn't it the common denominator between Joe, Gary, and Clayton is Sullivan and Cromwell? Because they had it. Gary and Clayton had an owning interest in Ether.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's Sullivan, there's Goldman. Joe supposedly was at Goldman. I don't think there's any actual proof of that. I remember when we were actually doing everything, there were people like on our Slack boards that were, it's in Camila Rose's book, that were like attacking, and they thought that this was crazy. That they were basically saying that this is a conspiracy for the banks to take over like the project, and Vitalik was in my room, in my living room at the time, and I'm like watching the Slack boards. And I said, I go, yo V, because I was calling V. I'm like, yo V, check this out. I'm like, look what these guys are saying. I'm like, the thing is a conspiracy, and he like turned red, and he went into his room that he was staying with me at my place. He only met me a few times, but he stayed with me for like on and off for like over a year. Somehow sync those two together. But he went in and he started typing, and he kind of like shut everybody down. It's like, if banks want to use it, it's agnostic. Like, if banks want to use it, that's fine. Whatever, did he know something else? Was that, genuine? I really don't know. But it was pretty clear that was those comments were not so thinly veiled at Joe. And when the coup happened, for people who don't know, like, there was this like coup at Ethereum where like the tech guys wanted to get rid of the for-profit and wanted to just have a foundation, and they wanted to get rid of some people. And that's when Charles got dumped, Amir, and they came after Anthony and Joe too. Anthony DeLorio and Joe. And Anthony's a good friend of mine, and there's no like why they would come after him. I don't know. I mean, he was probably the biggest asset. He was the only guy, like, if I had to say there's an adult in the house, he was the only guy there. I mean, he actually built, it was a small business. It was a Twitch Dice or something. Actually sold it. The guy is solid, right? And then Joe, I don't know, he's a cockroach. He survives, right? So he somehow survived.
So, quick question: when the coin was, when you guys did the initial ICO, and I just haven't been in the game that long. What was it after the ICO? Then you got it to the point where we started to show on exchanges. What was the pricing? I'm just trying to put something together in my head.
So, interesting. Before I when you say like you create the ICO, it's like I created the utility token, came up with the product narrative, and then I'm like, all right, now how do we sell this without like turning it back into security? So you're like thinking about all the possible ways of like, and one of those I was like, we can't give this to people until the network is live. Like, because there's no use for it, and then it would just be speculation. But what happened was somebody else, I don't know who did it, but this proxy token started trading. It was like an ether token that was trading on markets during like the whole year, like while they're building out the platform. And I think it was trading at like around 90 cents, and that's kind of where it came out, somewhere around there. And talking about, another point is institutional sales. This is like public information. They sold 500,000. Like they're still like in the penalty phase of an institutional sales against Ripple right now. Yet they know that Wang Sheng bought 500,000, and I believe, I don't know if it was Galaxy Novogratz or whatever, but I believe it was about 1 million. From the foundation. They needed the money. Which is kind of bizarre, because if anybody listens to did you guys listen to my talk with Vitalik in early 2015? That laid out a plan for him to actually build 2.0, conserve their money, and he should have been able to make it. And what does the guy do? He takes money from these other people and then goes to China for 2 years. Like, that's like just weird, right?
Yeah.
If you're supposed to be building out the Ethereum protocol, like, why are you in China looking at investments for some CCP company?
Well, another big question is, why is he in a extradition country such as Montenegro right now? You know what I mean? That's pretty damn fishy, Vitalik. Wiping boogers on the wall and shit. What are you running from? There we go. Vitalik's choice to reside in a non-extradition country. Anyone know which one? Montenegro? Correct. That speaks volumes, man. That's crazy, And also the pre-mine. I want to talk about the pre-mine real quick. So the numbers, man, don't jive. You got the coin market cap bullshit numbers at like what, 120 million or something like that. When it's much more than that. You know what I mean? As far as the whales and the all that stuff, the disguised whale wallets and the initial pre-mine controversy. There we go. Which Vitalik claimed was only a minimal amount, turned out to be significantly larger than promised, and was predominantly acquired by a few whales, notably the CCP. This has led to significant trust issues within Ethereum's operations. As a result, with the supply being controlled by a few, Ethereum has become a tool for the CCP, facilitated by Joseph Lubin and Vitalik Buterin, aiming to dominate the cryptocurrency industry and the monetary system. Nerdy, you got questions, bro. Let's bring these questions on.
Yeah, get Nerdy's questions in. 13,000 people are watching. Smash the likes. There's only 2,000 likes. A lot of people are interested in this show today. And let's keep it moving. Nerdy, you had a couple questions from the Blue Crew.
Yeah, I just want to go before I go to the Blue Crew questions, I just want to go back real quick to the interest. So, could you elaborate more on the relationship between Bill Hinman, Jay Clayton, Perkins Coie, Alibaba, and who else was there? Was it Union Square, and Andre Horowitz and Simon Thatcher? Is there a lot of connections between those?
Well, I mean, the technical. So the Alibaba, I think, is supposedly where Clayton and Hinman met, years earlier, right? But when you're talking about A16, that's when it actually came out. Was when Digital Asset Investor dropped that video of Lowell Ness, who I know super well, at Perkins Coie, and he's talking about this decentralization narrative, which is, I'm not saying anything about Lowell, but like it has like really just kind of no basis in law, right? And it was supposedly an expansion of my utility token argument. But the question, like the relationship, I mean, well, first of all, it's like, I don't like why does Clayton know A16? A16 is obviously huge, right? And I have nothing to say about A16. I have no Chris Dixon, I think may have been at that meeting, and I don't know Chris. He seems always like a professional, and I have a respect for that venture fund. And I can't even say anything about Perkins, but what I can say is, why the hell is the chairman of the Securities and Exchange Commission asking like a hedge fund, a venture fund, to ask their counsel how we should regulate crypto, assets. Like that's just like bizarre. Like nobody's like really kind of question like why are you're the regulator. I mean, so I mean, like, I don't know why. Like, they should ask Stu, like, how he wants to handle the case against them. Like, why not? I mean, it's just kind of like a weird thing.
Gary,
Gary got
where are you, Gary?
Gary sounds very nothing. I want to go to the questions. So, first question is, could you elaborate more on your time at MIT?
Me?
Yeah.
No, I wasn't at MIT.
At MIT.
But I mean, there was a lot of other stuff going on there. I mean, there was, there were in 2018. I mean, if you look, there's when Shang is involved, Carrie's over there. There's just a lot of stuff going on, and there's a lot of like I can't put MIT down, right? I mean, no. Any of these stuff, by the way, like you can't look at the institution, like Goldman, Clayton, Simpson, like there's factions. It doesn't mean like it's a whole institution, but I'm friends with Silvio McCallie, right? And to me, Silvio's the GOAT, right? Like of the whole space, right? Like half the stuff that we're doing, like in the crypto on the cryptography side, is like that dude like created, and I think he's the head of the department at he started Algorand, but and he's just straight up guy, and so, but the fact that he's giving like, why does Gensler know the stuff that Gensler knows in 2018, right? I mean, it was even though he was at the commodity, he was the head of the commodities board. Like, why would he would he know this stuff other than he's just so looped in? Given that, but yeah, he doesn't know anything about the check for the Steele dossier. I don't like that's kind of weird.
Yeah, that's because he got a piece of that.
The stuff he does know and the stuff all of a sudden he doesn't know, it just like doesn't add up. Like he's got a great memory for things that he shouldn't even know.
Well, you had mentioned how deep state this shit is earlier, and there's definitely a deep state. You can't ignore it. It's gotten way past that like event horizon of, well, that could be conspiracy theory. No, there's so many proofs, bro. When I got into crypto, everything was ERC-20. That right there was the biggest red flag I could ever imagine. I was like, what is going on here? What? From the gate, man. I was like, why is Tether propping everything up? Why is Tether? You need to have Tether to have any kind of pair, and you got to swap everything, and every damn coin out there is ERC-20. They're obviously monopolizing the damn market. It's insanity. But man,
Harold,
Steve. Go ahead.
Harold Sharp asked a good question earlier. He's what's your take on this, Stephen? Is Ethereum going to go down as a result of these revelations, or will it be ignored and Ethereum prospers?
Well, first, I just want to say that everything that I'm talking about is not, Ethereum's code, right? I have nothing against the protocol. I put my blood, sweat, and tears, to see it crumble, as a protocol would be, like deeply saddening for me because, it had so much promise. That being said, I do think there's a potential solution, but I don't see how, I don't know whatever the exact numbers are, right? But, the Boring has a better take on this, but I'm going to just take a personal guess and say, like 2 or 3 factions probably own 80+% of all the ETH, right? And that number, that was probably the ICO. It's probably higher because the mining was done almost all by the CCP entities, and I guess some of it was Joe. So I don't know how, like, you forget about like the regulators or anything. If you're building a project, right, and like this proof is out there, and you see that, like, how do you continue building on that protocol? What you've got investors probably, or you've got token holders, and it's a breach of fiduciary duty to building on something that's completely centralized. Right? So I think that's the bigger issue is how's the market going to react? The price of ETH, people's like, oh yeah, you're obviously your shit doesn't mean anything because the price of ETH is, going up. And I'm like, yeah, well, when there's like 10% of the ETH, free floating, they've sold hundreds of billions to trillions of dollars. Like, I don't think it's really hard for them to move ETH wherever they want. They can make ETH go to $20,000 right now if they want to. Like, it's really not that hard. It's not as liquid as people think. And I would say something else. The reason that I think the XRP Army was able to make such a large impact is because it's actually a lot of people. But I think Mr. Huber brought this up. It was actually like really telling. It was like the international, Solidity developers, whatever thing. It was a big deal, and Joe made a big deal. It was like 40 guys were on there, and they claim that there's like a million Solidity developers. I'm of the belief that the ETH community is actually very, very small. It's much smaller than people believe it to be. They're just looking at the market cap. And so that makes you think it's bigger, but it's actually not that, diverse. I do think so. Then the question, but there is a question, then what? So what happened? And there's a couple of possibilities. It's just like something else takes its place, right? And if you look at coin market cap for the last 10 years, except for like 2 or 3, everything else has changed. So it's not like it would be crazy for that to happen. But then you have another possibility, and we haven't checked in terms of how centralized it is, but I can't imagine it's anything close to Ethereum is the actual real Ethereum, which is Ethereum Classic. That could actually come in and take over its place, and there's they have, I don't know if it's called a foundation or what, but there's a wonderful person named Bob Somerville who's taken that project and really helped guide it in a way that he's not controlling it like Vitalik or anything, but he's a smart dude. He's been around a long time, and he's doing great things with that project. So that's another option.
Nice. Is it safe to say that the market is pretty much rigged right now?
I would say that group
manipulated
of people. Well, yeah, I mean, most of the fraud, most of what's happened in crypto, it pains me to say that, because I have defended crypto for so long, and now I see the reality. Most of what's happened in crypto has been fraud. If I had to guess, it would probably be 3/4 of everything that's ever happened. Has been rug pulls, exploits, and then almost all inside jobs. The second 100%. Component of that is almost the vast majority of that you can connect back to the Ethereum ICO wallets. So it's the same group of people that are doing this again and again. It wasn't, it's Token Foundry that Joe was running, but there was other ones. You look at, there were ones that are that people consider blue chip projects that will release data. Boring's got it. That's his thing. And let him release it. That you'll be shocked to see that it was the whole thing was, maybe there was some code there. Maybe there was a project, there's always got to be some kind of validity to it, but it was basically a scam. And you kind of see some interesting things where you're seeing the CCP involved, in going into different projects beyond Ethereum, but you'll see the Consensus Joe wallets going into it. You'll see the Ethereum Foundation wallet. You'll see Mr. I Can't Stand ICO Vitalik Buterin investing in all of this himself, and then you'll see the CCP entities. They kind of all act as one, which is really shocking. Again and again and again, they're just acting as if they're one entity. I don't know. I'm not saying that they are one entity, but they certainly are acting in concert with each other.
Yeah. So
Steve,
sorry, go ahead.
Real quick from Bob Shaw. He says, "What's your opinion on why they went after Ripple and XRP, and what's your thoughts on why they're giving favoritism towards Bitcoin and ETH and suppressing XRP and XRP Ledger?"
So, if you look at the quorum that was at JP Morgan, which they sent over to Consensus to put on Ethereum, so it looks like it's decentralized, but if what's your end goal? I don't think the fraud was the washing the money at the ICO was one thing. Fraud, which I think could be a number with a trillion in it. that has been fraudulently. Don't look at the market cap, right? Like it's if a $10
Yeah.
billion IPO and then you wipe that out and you replace it with another one, the market cap doesn't change, but you just took $10 million and fleeced the public, right? So that's two.
Yeah.
But what's your ultimate goal here, right? And
Mhm.
it appears pretty clear. It was obviously to have a control over the monetary system, and
Yeah.
kind of a step to that is you need to have control over cross-border payments, right? And
Yep.
so you can go back on YouTube and see me, I knew Chris and the team, and I'm even in my talk with Vitalik, I'm like, you
Mhm.
got to start, operating more like Chris and that team. I talk about
Mhm.
Ripple in there, and that's 2015, and in 2014, I'm talking about them using them as like, the gold standard. And
Yeah.
my opinion is that there was no way these guys were going to catch Ripple. Yeah, so
Mhm.
you had to, it's illegal block and tackling and just fouling, paying off the refs and basically, rigging the game as much as you can to try to slow them down. And
Yeah.
I don't think it ended up. I don't think it's worked. So that's the good news.
Well,
Um, when-
Steve, can you talk about the DApps that you suggested to V? You call it Vitalik. You call him. So,
Mhm.
can you talk about that? How he ignored your suggestions with the longevity of Ethereum, and then maybe also talk about him trying to delete on-chain data, like
yeah,
hiding stuff. You know what I mean? You
yeah.
want to do that?
Yeah, no, I mean, coming up with the utility token was, I spent like a long time thinking about this, and all of a sudden it hit me I could go to another time, but basically I said this is kind of like a product, and think about gas for technical purposes, but like gas or a stamp or and it's something that you need that has utility, and that's when I actually used the word functionality at the time, and then utility got used later on, and but the main purpose of the ether was not to send it; it was to fuel decentralized applications, right? And so that's really what I was thinking, right? This fuel for the decentralized applications, and so all of our conversations in building this and the excitement around Ethereum was dApps. It was not Ethereum the protocol, right? It was like the EVM or anything. Those were just to fuel them. But the point is to actually have dApps. And that's what he kept saying that he was excited about doing. So what I was telling him is I said, go 1.0 low maintenance. He and Gavin would,
Mhm.
and I don't think Gavin has any, you know, uh, fault in this at all. Gavin's the only one that he pulled a rabbit out of the hat in getting 1.0 even to work. But it was a rickety machine, and we knew it didn't scale. It was a proof of concept basically, and I said, you still have enough money. You can get 2.0 out in 2016, which you publicly have stated you're going to do. And 2.0, most people don't realize, was supposed to scale at layer one. These layer twos are all nice, because they make more money, right? But there was no layer twos. They were planning on scaling at a layer one, and he ended up. And I told him, I said, the reason you're doing this is you want to have utility, kind of coming up with a utility token in the ICO. I guess I'm partly to blame for this, but it's turned this whole industry into a freaking casino.
Mhm.
That was such a secondary component. This was it's like I said this. It's like you invent electricity, and instead of doing going out and creating the industrial revolution, you just sit around and trade electricity all day long. I forget about steam engines and you know improving society. Well, dApps, and what those what crypto can power is in the long term going to be bigger for society than probably electricity, or on that magnitude. And so he was very much in agreement, supposedly, except he didn't. And then instead of doing 2.0, he left for China for 2 years. And by the time he came back, they really never made an effort to do 2.0. Then they started with these L2s. And now all of that is great if you're a holder of Ether. So if you own 80 or 90% of the ETH, they're so proud that it's the first, you know, uh, enterprise to get to 10 billion in revenue. Revenue is gas fees, right? And who are the
Mhm.
shareholders? The ETH holders, right? I mean, so that's great. I mean, you're, but did you accomplish anything other than sending ETH back and forth and spinning up ICOs that aren't doing anything? And when a
Yep.
DEX is the only true DApp out there, you got a problem, right? And so it just went against everything that they said.
So bro, you got anything for Steve, bro? I know G's got all kind of stuff.
No, I mean, I feel like it's more of a conspiratorial thing, but with this whole Ethgate thing and how it's been going down and how deep the rabbit hole really goes with the corruption, I feel like it's getting purposely to target XRPL and XRP to delay the adoption of this as much as possible for maybe the banks or whatever to accumulate as much as they can in the sub-dollar ranges or even at discounts. Is it possible that with this Ethgate and also with Ethgate scandal, it's like, is it just trying to like slow down XRPL adoption to harmonize with ISO 222 adoption, which is considered to happen in 2025? What do we think?
Well, I mean, why would they go after? It's funny because Charles, I love. I don't know. There's this XRP Charles thing, right? And like I know both sides, right? And he's like, it doesn't make sense. They're not even a smart contracts platform. I'm like, well, okay, fine, maybe, but like they've got some other functionality, but like maybe that's not what they were, targeting. And I don't think it is what they were targeting. I think it's more what you're talking about, the cross-border payments, and then which eventually, if you look at, it's not conspiratorial. It's kind of like logical. If you can become the mechanism that one CBDC, let's say, becomes another CBDC, you have to go through XRP or ETH, let's say, or something that ETH spins out. That starts at some point. That just becomes a reserve currency. Like you don't need anything else. Like if you have to go through it, it's like. So I don't think it's conspiratorial. I mean, like you see, J.P. Morgan moving Quorum over there, and the fact that they're not a smart contract platform, I think actually even more like clear than why are they targeting them? Why didn't they go after one of the smart, ones that are smart contracts? But again, if you're not spinning out any dApps, like what are you worried about that it's a smart contracts platform?
Well, I would like to say the whole market today is
not conspiratorial. What? Go ahead.
I was going to say, like, the whole market today is basically based off the Hinman email.
Right.
Based off what?
The whole market today is basically based off of the Hinman email. If the Hinman email.
Yeah, I was about to say yes, but there's that's a correct statement, but you got to add one more thing to it. There's a document that Hinman wrote that's worse than the free pass speech that most people just overlook it, and that was the Dow report. He got there in May of 2017, and I'll tell you, and I'll come out publicly. They started the false prosecution against me and setting me up, which they never set me up, so they fabricated. But it was the same month he got there. Like there's all these coincidences. And then in July of 2017, he comes up with the Dow report. Got a couple of problems with the Dow report. Like number one, this is clearly like it's a venture fund. Like what else? You put money, you put it in, you get Dow tokens. Dow invests in projects, you make a profit. You get it's a venture fund. But they let it go, and they basically kind of grandfathered it in 2017, and it was a 2016 project. But XRP is not clearly a security, and actually, it turns out it's not a security by Judge Torres, right? And nor did I. And I agree. I work very closely with Joe Grunfest. That guy has like integrity. Like I cannot imagine the SEC was run anywhere like this. And he wrote a letter to them saying, "There's no differentiation." And we worked on a daily basis while I was working on Ethereum. But yet they go back to 2013 transactions for XRP, despite the Dow report saying, "All right, we're going to just kind of like let everybody let this go." They say the Dow itself, you could buy and sell the Dow tokens, so it's an unregistered securities exchange, right? And that clearly has a security on it. Well, Coinbase doesn't clearly have securities on it, and they're attacking them, but they didn't go after the Dow. If you knew that, that's where this one gets a little weird, is like, why would they issue that? Like, when did the SEC all of a sudden become magnanimous towards like people that are clearly, absolutely clearly, flagrantly breaking the law? But if you do that and you know that the Dow hack was an inside job, and it was an inside job, and like there's no question about it. You know, it's just almost like a RICO case that would involve the SEC. Like, why is him putting that out? But he had to paper that over before he could give the free, you know, the actual speech. So
well, that leads me to my next question.
Like really.
That leads me to my next question is, because there's so many big players that's in this whole RICO, as we can call it, because there's so many big players involved, do you think there's a chance of Ethgate being exposed, or do you think it'll just get pushed under the rug?
It's going to be exposed.
We're exposing it right now.
Let's get it.
Yeah, it's already exposed. Right
16,000 watching it. We're exposing it right now.
I mean, people like just cannot. It's so hard to put your hands around how vast all of this is, and we're just trying to uncover this. And I'm putting together thousands of documents that I have, and then I find out, like I put in a Privacy Act request, which is different than a FOIA request. But that means that like if there's anything that personally identifies you, they have to give it to you. It's rare. There's like maybe national security, which would kind of be weird. Like, why am I national security, right? That would be a problem in and of itself, right? They were supposed to send it to me, the SEC. Then they said they can't, but they have to tell you if they have anything. The SEC shouldn't have anything on me. They supposedly, the DOJ actually put a court document saying the SEC was not part of my prosecution. SEC has 14 gigabytes of data on me. Why do they have 14 gigabytes? And they won't give it to me. So I mean, we're gonna have to sue them for it, right? So, like, there's as people saw, everybody's like, oh, they'll just delete everything, and I said that you can't. This is like you want to get fluoride out of the water system. It's in so many. These are so many agencies involved in this, right? And so many people involved, and the systems are backed up by other departments, right? Like, why are they going to like risk their lives and their careers for some? Most of these people are out of the government position anyway, so those are the easiest ones to throw under the bus. So with the Hinman emails,
so many hurdles to jump through.
Right, and so if you got 14 gigabytes just on me, like imagine what's in there. I can only imagine what's in there, right? So, I think it's us exposing the story, and it's just been a lot. But because we've kind of figured this out organically, and one thing led to another, and so we're piecing this together, and obviously they're not making it any easier on us. So it'll come out. You know what the repercussions will be. You know, I mean that's it's interesting because you've got the DOJ clearly, and the FBI clearly, and the SEC clearly, in collusion with each other to do this. So like, and then
so that means they had phone taps, they had bugs in your office. They probably
kidnapped them. So.
Yeah, they bugged your office up. You probably want to get a wand to go through that.
I want to talk about the. Oh, sorry, Steve. Go ahead.
No, I'm saying the guy. To your point, like now I'm looking back and I'm like, I don't know if my dog was probably a government agent. Like everybody in my life. The guy that they say is my co-defendant, that guy like ripped off nuns and stuff. He's a government agent. He's the one who like sent the threatening text message that they were like saying I'm responsible for. And then when we actually found phone records where him and the FBI agent that was pursuing me had like 145 contacts. Like, why would they have 145 contacts with each other? And they're saying, there's nothing there. I'm like, what do you mean there's nothing there? They wouldn't give it to us.
Yeah, he's a CI. That's why. He was a CI.
No, they didn't. This is unheard of. I've talked to like probably a dozen criminal defense attorneys. They will not turn over my arrest report to me. That's like, I won't say necessarily constitutional, but it's like right up there. Your arrest report you're allowed to get. Like there's no question you get it. They would not give me my arrest report, and they have not given me my arrest report. All it's supposed to say is like what happened. Like obviously they don't want what's in there. They don't want me to have. So what was your question?
Chip had one earlier. You want to? Oh, good, sir.
Well, I was going to say, let's talk about the sleuths. So there's boring online. That's a friend and about truth and justice and patriot, all that good stuff. But there's some bad guys, bro, that are kind of weird, that are making accusations about the XRP army, that like we're getting paid by you and yada yada yada. I'll tell this right now, just this fact: we're not getting a dime from you or anything. We want to get to the bottom of this. I want to know why Justin Bieber was pushing several $1 million Bored Ape Yacht Club fucking NFTs. Like I want to know why they pushed it so much. And I can't wait for all this to blast out. And the good sleuths like
I can tell you why.
Boring and you and all the good people with all this stuff about to blast out, man. The XRP army don't want a dime. We're not in it. There's no conspiracy theory. We're not here for money. We're not trying to swindle or push your narrative. No, we're looking for truth because we've seen a manipulated market since day one, and this is absolute asinine behavior.
Exactly.
And so the sleuths out there, and I'll name them scams. Watch it, bro. We're all good people, bro. There's nothing wrong with us. So, and I think Steve is doing this, and he doesn't have to do this, but he's doing it because he knows the truth needs to come out, and that's my take on it. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I mean, look, I've dropped like enough receipts to show that I'm real. I've dropped receipts to show that I turned down my ether, and I said this was like a gift to the to the project. There was I left consensus. It was like this is costing me in every aspect of my life. They destroyed every aspect of my life, really. I mean everything. And I have stuff that's sitting. And people are asking me about I have like a huge project that I'm going to be announcing, and I've been waiting for all this stuff to come out because I don't want anybody to say I'm doing this in any way to profit myself, right? And I've had a lot of opportunity. A lot of people have offered me to do. We endorse this. I said no, I'm not endorsing anything. I don't care what you want to offer me. I'm like my integrity is the one thing that I have that they can't take from me, and that I'm the only one who can give that away, and I'm not going to give that away. So. Who's got a vested interest in it? And the XRP community, I was actually trying to warn you guys in 21. Hubert found it. Because when I came out, people actually thought I was an agent of Joe Lubin. Like, that's like weird.
Wow.
Right? I mean, that's why I did the show with Deaton. Because Deaton said to me, he's like, but still, even if you're a good guy, you made, a ton of money. You must have made $1 billion off of the ICO. I said, actually, I spent money and I turned everything down. And Deaton literally goes, bullshit. And I said, all right, just give me like 15 minutes. I'll send you an email. And I sent him everything, and he says, are you, and I used like other words, but he's like, are you kidding me? Like, are you kidding me? You like literally really, you invented this stuff and then you turned all of it down? And I said, yeah, I had my reasons why I didn't want to. And if you want to make money in this space, like there's no reason you need to do it, illegally. It's like there's so much money to be made. If these guys had actually here's the crazy thing: if they had actually just done this legitimately, they would have made a lot more money, than because they did have pole position, right? So, I think the XRP community. What I loved about it is that when the rulings came down and it was clear that the case was pretty much won, like they didn't miss a freaking beat. They were just as like the next morning they got up and they're like doing more research, and it was like because that's why like people like Warren and myself were like this. First of all, it's like the most non-toxic community I've found in crypto by far. Like, and it's principled. I'm like, it wasn't about is XRP like it's at 50 cents. Okay, we don't care. Like it should have been at $5 right now or $10, whatever. But we don't care. We just want a level playing field. And like, so that shows a lot, which is, you just don't find that much in crypto, probably in society even.
Yeah.
Do you think the guys you were working with, maybe they got into space, they're trying to do the right thing, and some outside entities approach them and pull them into a different direction, utilizing different tools? If you think back, like, hey, we all started off on a good foot, and then all of a sudden you pivoted.
Yeah, well, I think So like if you talk about like the original Ethereum guys, right?
Yes.
There's like it was a small team. Even when you call the core devs, it was a few dozen people. Right? Like everybody like knew each other, and everybody was working together. Um, I think there's three camps. I think there's one camp of people that this was their intent from day one. Right, like I don't think like they got that they didn't get corrupted, right? Like they were the corruptor, right? So like there's that group, and when you look, I mean the reason like like you look at it from like a factual standpoint, if the whole ICO was not just like concentrated bought up by like two groups, right? It was programmatically like coded. It was. I'll give you an example. All of a sudden, Boring showed it to me. All of a sudden, you'll see like 126 transactions coming in from like different addresses on the same second, like literally the same second. I mean, that's coded, right? And they're going into these two groups. So I mean, these groups are like coordinating efforts, right? So like the whole thing was planned out. Then you've got the second group of people that stepped into like who's that John Grisham's book, the Firm. Remember that? It was like that lawyer from Harvard that was like had a great intention, and he was all excited, and he went to this great law firm, and then all of a sudden he realized, oh shit, these are like are the law firm for the mob, right? And like I think there's that group. There's a group of people, pretty much anybody there knew what was going on. They couldn't like you had to be really deaf, dumb, and blind. I didn't because I wasn't on the technical side. But like if you're seeing this stuff on the technical side, now I've talked to some of these people now, and some of them who've attacked me online, it's not a smart move, but like they were in on it, and the ones that attacked me, like probably shouldn't do that because that just makes you a target for us to go and investigate your wallets and see how you were, how did you benefit from this? And in each instance we find it, right? And then you have like this other group. I don't know how big it is, but like I gave like Lane Reddick, and I've known Lane. I had the accelerator for Techstars in blockchain, and he was a mentor there, and I have a tremendous amount of respect for that guy, both technically and in terms of his ethics. And he came right out and said, I'm guessing he could have said a lot more than this, but he came out and said, I'm working all day to pump Lubin's bags. Like what, we read into that. What does that mean? He's not just cleaning up the code. Like, he obviously realized that, something was not right. And the fact that it was so concentrated and it was benefiting Joe. And he's like, this is not what I want to do with my life. Like that's, and now it's like for people to understand, like, you can imagine how much money that guy walked away from, right? Like, and that's what he should have done, and he did do it, and like he's going to be on the right side of history. But a lot of these other guys, the kind of money we're talking about, I mean, the DAO, the Gatecoin one is, I don't know how much, what is that? The DAO is close to $100 billion or something like in today's dollars. Right? I mean, these are like
minimum.
Like when you have a hack that's bigger than any scandal, like twice the size of Enron, and that's just that hack. That's not that overall criminal enterprise. Enron was the whole criminal enterprise. Madoff was the whole criminal enterprise. This is just like one, and there's tons of them. Like Boring brought up the Gatecoin one, and I think that's probably approaching $1 billion in today's money, and it's probably relevant to be in today's money because I'm guessing they have most of that. They were giving out tokens, and these ICOs were basically getting them more ETH and more concentration and a higher percentage, of the protocol.
You think that was a plan to get as many coins underneath that so they can use the gas fees and just make money off gas? Because I mean, that's a good approach. Get as many people on to open up their own coins, and they're using you for gas.
Yeah, I mean, it's yes, but it's I don't. was that I mean, like the mob, like their main thing is, let's say, illegal gambling. Maybe they doing selling drugs on the side too, and it's not a bad side business, right? But it's it's like while they're these so I think if those all fall in the same category, the exploits, these the frauds, all of that. It's like while we're on the way to world domination or whatever, like crazy stuff they have in their head, which is not so crazy. I mean, it's just kind of crazy that it was actually happening. We can grab as much as we can on the way, and the gas fees is just just an easy one. And then if you look at the fact that they went to proof of stake, adding these layer twos, that I don't know, like you can stake ETH at more than 100%. What? Like,
yeah, it's crazy.
What?
Well, it's unlimited supply, so
did somebody without an interest in ETH come up with that plan?
Yeah.
Like, if you don't have an interest in ETH, do you think that's a good plan? Like,
That's
I mean, that's just nuts, right?
It seems to me like the thing about the XRP army is that a lot of us dig deep into more things besides crypto, and we understand we actually just follow the government, what the government's doing. The government's pretty shady, and a lot of connections connect to China, and a lot of inside jobs within agencies within our own country, and they're just all concluding with the same goal or with the same interest. So that's why my main question was, do you really think that anyone's going to get charged with anything?
Yeah, it's interesting because you've got the departments that would be in charge of making those decisions, or their hands are dirty in this, right? So because people think they can't, but I think the magnitude of data just simply cannot be ignored. And then when you throw in a foreign power, what's that all about, right? Like, why are they just like, for an example, one of the reasons why I think this can't be ignored is that you've got this CCP connected or whatever, clearly connected entity, and they're favoring them on Ethereum, but then go further, Prometheum. Right, so I helped architect a T0, and I created the first security token. Right, and we went through years of crap with the same people, Valerie and S, and all of these same people in the same division. They wouldn't give us a license, but this Prometheum, it's this magic bullet license to go do anything they want, when they're publicly stating we're completely reliant on the same entity, Wang Sheng. And they've got the killtrump.crypto and killtrump.eth in their address. What?
Crazy.
I mean, I don't care about freedom of speech, but just a problem if you're connected with a foreign power and you've got those domain names in there, somebody would just happen. You thought those were going to go up in value or something,
exactly. That's crazy.
When that coin came out, I was literally like, how did they get that quick? And then it was just obvious, like, you guys are in.
Yeah, and I want to say there's a lot of.
To answer your question though is like, the way I kind of think about it is like, who can they throw under the bus, minimally? Now, and the issue they've got here, which I don't think they've ever faced before, that's why this situation is unique, is that you've clearly got interagency coordination, so you cannot normally, there's this FBI agent, he's only was with us for a year and he just went rogue, or this prosecutor went rogue, and sorry, we abide by and we do the Pledge of Allegiance 5 times a day, and it wasn't us, right? It was just that one bad apple. But they can't say that here, right? Like, there's too much proof that there's this coordination between the agencies and coordination between well, here's the thing. It's not even between administrations, because it started, pre-Trump, went to Trump. I don't actually think Trump had any clue what any of this stuff was happening, because I just don't think he was aware of this component of it, and then went into the Biden. So now you're saying, wait, this isn't even electoral, this is the agencies on their own really going rogue.
You got a couple senators. There was a couple senators who were informed. Their oversight committees, they knew what was going on. So if you find who the oversight committee is on some of those agencies and some of the stuff, you'll know exactly what senator knew what was going on.
They know I've given them information a year ago. Like the weaponization committee, nothing.
Fuma brings up a good point where there's a lot of similarities between Elizabeth Warren and Gary and how they're going about everything. And when Elizabeth Warren was just worked with the banks to make up with her crypto law, and basically she was just trying to take away our ledgers and trying to take away private custody. It just seems like there's so much corruption and there's just no escape from it.
Well, all right, like I don't know if Gary Gensler and Elizabeth Warren are the same person. Has anybody ever seen them in the room at the same time? Like it's like she. That's a really good topic because let's go back to her history. When she was a law professor, it was at Harvard. She's the one who most people don't even know this agency exists. I think it's what is it? Somebody come up with it. It's at the Fed, Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, CFSB, Protection Bureau, whatever. Anyway, that's what it's called. Like she proposed that, and then Obama appointed her for a year to kind of set it up, and then she wanted to be the director. Like people don't understand what that that's like the most powerful agency in the country, and it's really not connected to the government. It's got one director. There's no board of directors like other agencies appointed for I don't know how many years, and it reports to the chairman of the Federal Reserve, and it has authority. This kind of relates to what we're talking about, so I'm bringing it up. It's not only draconian because they can write regulations, enforce those regulations on any financial institution over $10 billion and any consumer financial product, which is kind of like almost everything, right? And people don't realize that exists out there, right? And so this is just more of a continuation of what she's doing. Yes, she's absolutely trying to take this away. She's turning it around that like, oh, they're after me and like the special interests of the banks that you're representing. And that's why I think everybody, I'm just going to say this right now, like John Deaton going up against her. If you're a Massachusetts citizen, like, I mean, I've looked into what she's done. Like, how could you be happy with what she's done for your state? Right. And, if you're, because she focuses all of her attention on these international issues. So I think that everybody should be supporting Deaton, and everybody in this community should be donating, whether or not you're in Massachusetts or not, because she's doing damage to that state and she's doing damage to the whole country, and Deaton has a plan to fix that. On the but on the regulation front, I think we need to get our act together, like the bodies that we have supposedly represent. Yeah, there you go. John's my attorney. I'm not saying this, because of that, but I picked him because of that. Actually, he's like he knows his stuff, not just in crypto. This guy didn't make a penny. Came in and represented all the XRP holders, and he's really smart, and he's running for the right reasons.
Yeah.
So
I just want to let the people know. Shout out.
What's that?
I just want to say, like,
yeah, I mean,
as tough as it is, it seems like even though there's no hope, as John Deaton comes in and we got XRP declared as not a security and all this stuff, it just seems like it's the people have to come together in order to make the change. We can't just like let the corruption go on for as long as we can. The more we talk about it, the more that we expose it, and the more that we just try to actually do something about it. I mean, that's the only way I can see this going.
Yeah, so I mean, I've talked a lot about Crypto 2.0, and it's the reboot, and so, I'm not like I can't stand people who like, complain and bring up issues and then like have no solutions, right? Like what do you now? Okay, we're great. Now then what, right? And so like, there are solutions. Like I was talking about, maybe Ethereum Classic, could take over, that vacuum, right? Like, and maybe not cause as much disruption. You don't want as much disruption as possible, but you do need a reboot of the industry. And You need regulations. Like, we shouldn't be afraid of regulations. We should want regulations. Warren Davidson put the Token Taxonomy Act, which is largely based on my work, in 2019, and he really tried hard, but that thing just got like, and the reason why because it was a safe harbor provision to say your utility token, right? And like, so why would you not want that regulation in, unless you have some other reason for it? So I think your point is really important, is that this industry has been so fragmented, and part of it is because a lot of the industry was not interested in what this industry should be about from a health perspective and a growth perspective. They were using it for other means. Right, and are these bodies in Washington, and which ones are really on our side, and which ones are just on the side of whoever they're getting paid by, right? Like, it seems to me, and I know all of them, and so I'm not going to point anyone out. There's some good ones, and there's some not so good ones, and then there are good people in some of the good ones, and not good people in some of the good ones, and vice versa. But what I can tell you is they're not working together. They're like sometimes in a power struggle with each other, and like, we're supposed to be one industry. I can tell you that like, you don't really see that. Like, if the banks want to make a change, and like, they need to contact the OCC, which regulates all national banks. Like, it's hard for me to imagine that the lobbying people of the banks are all like going in like different directions, and some are like finding it important, some are not. They're going one direction, as an industry. And this is a small industry. We're going up against behemoths, right? Like, I don't know if anybody thought this was going to be easy when we started this. Like, it's not. And the one thing we can't afford to do is be fragmented. Somebody like, I hope a lot of people, I hope people view what I'm trying to do as, bring down the bad, but ultimately bring the good and cohesive, and bring everybody together, right? Like, that's the point. And if everybody comes together, and like, John is another person that can really help, make the industry cohesive. But there needs to be, it can't just be like me or John. Like, there needs to be a cohesive effort, and like, even the extra PR army, you can't, and it can't be worrying about your project. Like, and like, shilling your own thing. Like, you shill it, that's fine. But I mean, when it comes down to like regulations, and the only way this gets accepted, I mean, this being crypto, the only way it gets accepted is if regulations are put into place. The question, and they will be. The question is, are the regulations going to destroy crypto, or going to make it, more like rigid in terms of what you have to do, but actually legitimize it? And I just got back from Dubai, right? And it's like, there's a renaissance going on over there. Saudi's got, another one going on. There's a number of jurisdictions where, you go and they're like, so what do you want to do? You want to be an exchange? Okay, fine. Here's the licensing requirement. Here's the 7 things you need to do. They all make sense. Like, they're logical. Like, and here's your fee, and go ahead. When you come back, you show them what you've got, they review it. They're, it's not a crony thing. It's like, you're not paying anybody off. It's like a legitimate thing. And they've legitimized the whole industry over there. And actually, I'm sure there's bad actors in every industry, right? I mean, like, there's like crypto being used for money laundering, and like, I'm talking about the banks. I mean, like, cash is like, you want to launder money, use
The
cash.
biggest.
Like, I mean, it's like the worst. I mean, you track everything, right? But whether or not they come in next year, I think a lot of this, I think a lot of people should be looking at this 2024 election as pretty serious from a crypto perspective and beyond. Like, I mean, like, people are like, this crypto to me is a symptom of a much bigger thing that's happening in this country, where you've got interests that are not elected by the people going off and
100%.
In directions that who knows who's decided, but it wasn't the elected officials that have on the record decided these, put forth bills, or it's they've just gone rogue, but they've gone rogue in unison, and so that's not, and hence it's almost not rogue, right? Like, so people should be concerned about that, and like, they talk about in the U.S. draining the swamp, and I don't know how easy or difficult it is to do that, right? But it's I guess what I'm saying is that crypto is not just this one exception.
Yeah.
Hey guys, we're in extra overtime. GDLT I think has to step away pretty soon here. We do have coffee time coming up at the top of the hour. If you guys want to move the conversation over to coffee time, Steven, if you have some more time, we got another show right after this with Uncle Buster and Berserker called Coffee Time. Open platform, same thing. We talk crypto and everything that's going on. But Buster, I think you had something real quick, and then Fuma, you want to hit those rapids?
Appreciate you guys, by the way. Much love to y'all.
Appreciate you.
Thank you for your time, Steven. Thank you, Bagman.
Yeah,
and
brother. Yeah.
We'll do a coffee time. Steve, if you want to come over there, Uncle Buster 7311 on YouTube. But Steven, you broke this live show wide open today. I think we've got 600 before. We hit 20,000, man. So a lot of people appreciate your message, man. And yeah, that's all I want to say. And if any of the 20,000s aren't subscribed to Bags, subscribe to this channel. This is what we do, just talk crypto and do this. But I'm just happy to be a part of it. But I wasn't expecting 20,000 in here today. That's just unreal. So appreciate you, Steve.
I appreciate you guys. And it's just one thing that, like, Deaton's thing, that interview I had with him, I didn't know what the reaction was going to be. And I really didn't care personally. Like, I'd rather, like, I'm not part of any of this. Like, but I got thrust into this. They had 92,000 live listeners.
Wow.
Like, for a crypto thing. And, over like 500,000 total. So that gives me hope that there's
John deserves it, bro. John's a good dude. I've met him personally. Yeah. Like, he's a good dude. And I remember in his early days on OTC, shout out Chip and Jeff on the chain. He would regularly interview over there, bro, and it was like barely the army was watching. But now look what it's turned into. Sorry, Steve, go ahead.
I would actually ask everybody, I don't know where his link is, if we can find his link for donating. But like, he needs the support of the industry financially. Like, at the end of the day, this costs money to win that. And he's key. So if everybody please support John. He's going to be important for us.
Can we drop the
Throw
link
down
in the
for
chat
John,
for everybody?
get him into the
Links
Senate.
in the
Let's
chat.
go.
Links in the chat for John Deaton, John Deaton for Senate.com. Also, check out Steven. I got his links in the description. Make sure to give him a follow. Go ahead, Fuma.
Yeah, everybody, if you can, at least give him $5. Give John Deaton $5. He's been sticking up for us for how long? If you can't break yourself off $5, Fuma gonna talk about you pretty good. So
Fuma gonna get you.
Yeah. So do you want me to go ahead and ask the questions real quick, if you don't mind?
Yeah, you got the rapid fire.
Yeah, I got some rapid fires for you, Steven. You ready for it? It's a good one. These are some doozies.
Ooh-wee.
Let's go.
Right. So the first one is, what are your top 5 crypto coins? Your top 5.
Top 5. XRP is definitely one. I'm not putting them in any particular order. I like XRP.
Ooh, that's deep.
I do. I like Polkadot.
Okay.
With Polkadot, also Cosmos.
Nice.
I think Solana is certainly there's some issues with it, but I think it's a good group, and I think it's pushing in the right direction. Charles is doing some hard long-term stuff, which is building good tech. So we'll see how that plays out, but I think there's promise there.
Last one.
Yeah, good.
No, you got one more coin.
This is actually I'm now having a hard time thinking of 5 coins that I like. And by the way, like, just being clear, I'm answering you like ones that I think their technology and everything is like not that it's going to go up in price.
Yeah. That's why I said, what are your top 5? Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. Give me one more and let me see if I can think of
XLM.
Yeah, Stellar. Yeah, he's doing some interesting stuff there. I wouldn't put him top 5 maybe, but what else? Give me another one.
H-Bar,
Gasper. Dag.
I actually, I'm not sure how the leadership is working out right now, but what Silvio's going on at Algorand,
Nice.
he's got some good stuff going on at Algorand. So I it's tech there.
All right. If there was a project you said, Zeddy, don't touch it, it's fire. Stay away. Which one would it be?
Ethereum. I'm sorry. No,
Steve.
dude, Steve, that's Steve's baby, dude. But like, it's been corrupted though. Hardcore.
No. What do you think, Steve? What project would you tell Fuma to stay away from?
Yeah, that's most of them, right? It's like I have a hard time, like when I look at projects, like I mean, I've gotten to the point where I could spend an hour looking at a project, and I can just tell there's something wrong here. Like, I mean, I know exactly what it is, but like, you just you just see that there's like it's off, right? And there aren't very many that are like fair launches that are being done properly, that are transparent. Ethereum, there was the transparency is like a really big deal, because that's kind of like a big part of our ethos, and like there was a transparency plan put ahead, and Joe and Vitalik knocked it down right at the time of that it was going live. So like it's there are some other projects that are dApps. I mean, the layer 2s, I just have a hard time understanding, like, some of the layer 2s. Some of the ones that are going on, on Bitcoin may have some interest. Like, I think, where Bitcoin's actually headed, I'm not happy about where it's headed because of the ETF. Like, great, the ETF jacks up the price, cool, but it's like it does a lot of negativity in terms of concentration and control and all of that. So, does Bitcoin lose its ethos? And at the same time, you've got this renaissance with these, all of these projects that are going to be linked to it and using it for security and being built on their effective layer 2s. So that's going to be one. That's a theme that I would be watching for. And in fact, Vitalik wanted to originally build the smart contracts on Bitcoin. He wasn't going to launch his own project. They just said they said it was polluting the code, so they didn't want it.
All right. What is your favorite cold wallet storage? You got to have a cold wallet. Now, if you tell me you don't have a cold wallet, I'm no longer in crypto. I'm getting out the game. So, what is your favorite cold wallet storage?
Give me your picks.
Ledger. Okay, you got. Go ahead, Berserker.
Well, we got Tangent Card, which is hot shit now, and that's a nice little protection. You got 3 layers there. You got 3 different cards. You can have multiple addresses on the same thing. Another one is the multiple addresses is the new one. What's that one, Bagman, that you did a tutorial on? The 3.0 or something like that.
Yeah, I can't remember the name.
So you got Ledger, Decent. So you got the Ledgers, the Nano SX. You got the Decent wallet. You got the Tandem. Hold on.
We got Ellie.
And saying you don't have a cold wallet storage? Hold on. Are you saying you don't have a cold wallet storage, Steve?
Well, he threw the question back at us. We got to answer his question to get a question from, or get his answer.
I think they're both good. I mean, I actually these new ones, I've seen them, and I would play with them, but I wouldn't be putting your majority of your stuff on something that's like fairly fresh, just because there's again, we've seen so much inside exploits. Like, and so, a company like a Ledger or, that's been around a long time, there's less likelihood because they've got a huge franchise in place. And I know that they had one recently. I think they made up for it, didn't they? That was one of the things that, like, whatever you want to think of CZ or Binance, right? Like, if you want to have some, like, security, like, CZ almost liked when they got hacked, right? Because it was like, you found another vulnerability, but they had this huge, fund internally that they was self-insured that was covering it, and so it was, safe AF, right? And like, while they're doing like $100 billion or some crazy number a day, they have the funds to cover you, and it's too big of an enterprise to risk, an exploit. So that's why I would just say, like, with the younger ones, just let them play out a little bit.
Okay, and I'll give you the last one. Do you want to go ahead and make that announcement you were talking about earlier that you didn't want to say? Do you want to go ahead and do it right now? Blow the internet up? Come on. Come on, Steve. We're waiting on you, Steve.
All right.
Come on.
Maybe a nugget.
I'm not going to go into the specifics yet.
Okay.
I will say this: there was related to the same group of people that were involved in Ethgate, and the the enforcement action against Ripple. Like that same group also. Let me see if I put it right.
Don't tell me it's Polygon.
They
Please
went up
don't say
against
Polygon.
they took another project out. They took another project out, and because the project was T0. And I'll give you kind of the skinny on it. And for those who don't know T0, that's like one of the people that like this industry owes a huge debt to Patrick Byrne. You know, he was the first guy to accept Bitcoin at Overstock, which was the parent of T0. They were like a $1.2 billion company. There was an Australian restaurant at 800,000, which was the biggest enterprise before that. So like when he accepted Bitcoin, if anybody remembers that moment, like that was like, what? Like, you know, $1 billion company. So, but he had been building this security token exchange, and I had helped him, and I helped him create the first security token, which was TZROP. And that's like the token for the exchange. He's had, I'll give you like some quick background on this. He's had a battle with illegal short sellers, like naked short selling. And so he battled like all these hedge funds, for years, even before crypto, from like going back into the early 2000s. And, eventually I think a lot of people got paid the price or what have you. But what was happening was that the SEC was, you have I think like 4 days or something to cover whatever you're, borrowing. Otherwise, you're illegal naked shorting. And the SEC had this list, and like there were funds that were like 1,000 days beyond that limit, and the SEC was going after Patrick. Like he's the naked shorting is going against him, and they're like finding issues like with his company, and they're attacking him. And so like that's when you come up with captured agency, right? Like who's running the SEC? Is it for the benefit of the investors, or is it these hedge funds or the banks, right? Clearly it's the latter. So Patrick, in my opinion, he finally checkmated these guys. And what he did was he came out with a token. He came out with a dividend that if you were short, you had to buy the dividend. But the trick was the dividend was on the T0 blockchain security token exchange, which is an alternative trading system. And he had 37 million T0 token shares on NASDAQ trading, and there's like 3.7 million of these. It was 1-to-10 ratio. So if you're short, you've got to buy these. But unlike the games you can play, in the regular NASDAQ market and just kind of like, so nobody knows, this is clear, like this 3.7 million, you either buy them or you don't buy them. Right? And so I don't know what the number was. It was maybe like 1,000% naked short. And all of a sudden, when he put this into place, you started seeing the price of Overstock, the parent company, like starting to like go up exponentially because people were trying to cover their short positions. And so for anybody that remembers GameStop, where there was going to be the short to infinity, Patrick brilliantly did put that in place here, and legally. So this is a legal dividend that's going to be given to shareholders of Overstock, but he put it in a blockchain format, so you can't play with it. It's like you either buy it or you don't. There's 3.7 million, and let's say there needed to be 50 million bought. Like so, there's a problem, right? And there was the likelihood would have been a short squeeze to infinity on that. Right? What happened? Patrick. That's all the specifics. The SEC cancels the dividend, a legal dividend, like that was being issued by a major public company, right? And then they pushed it back, and by the time they pushed it back and back and back, they actually eliminated that security. The dividend itself was a security. They got rid of it, so they literally like saved. And if you go, I mean, Market Watch has got an article on this. Right, so it actually made the news, but nobody like really kind of picked up on it. just a couple fact points is they got rid of that. So now the shorts could, everything, the price went back down on overstock. The shorts could cover, there wasn't this pressure like it was like a week to go. The day, it's unclear if it was actually that day, but I think Patrick said it was exactly that day. It was September 19th, 2019. There's only 2 people on the planet that could have had the understanding of what Patrick was doing to have explained it and had like the public stature, like, for security tokens. And that was me and Patrick. He started building it out, and then I architected it, and and it did the first security token with the first security token offering, STO they call it. They arrested me, the 12 agents or whatever, busted into my house like I'm like freaking Pablo Escobar with their guns blazing, and coming into my bed with like 12 guns. I'm like, can I help you? I'm like, I'm in my bed. I'm like, well, like what is like what's going on?
Yeah, but that's an intimidation tactic. They could have just sent you an email to come down to the main office.
No, that was the day. They had wrapped up their false case against me. 6 days. Get this, 6 days after the Hinman speech. We have the emails going back and forth from the FBI agent on the fabricated evidence. This is actually publicly filed in my case, so anybody wants to go look at it, it's there. But that's June 2018. They don't arrest me, and then all of a sudden, September 19, 2019, the day that dividend was supposed to go out, is the day they arrest me. In fact, those emails that Hinman got from that guy, later on, that wanted to talk about an IPO or something, that he got that email while the agents were in my house, and that's when they throw me in the van and everything. But like, that's a coincidence? Like, no. I mean, like, so and Patrick was basically told, get out of the country. He's got some kind of immunity deal, like that. They couldn't go after him, but the DOJ, and he left the country, for like a year and a half or something. And there was this Maria Butina stuff and whatever, and that was all a sideshow. Like, that was an excuse. Now, what ended up happening? Here's where this fits in with our other conversation, and why it's like super important. Is that's the most legitimate security token exchange. They went through I was there, and it was the same group. Valerie was in charge of that, and I made a prediction like 5 years ago that it was going to these security tokens are going to replace all of the tokens on basically New York Stock Exchange. What ends up happening over the next year? The Overstock divests itself of its Medici Ventures venture fund. They still have a percentage of it, but they put it into a venture fund to manage it. And who takes majority? I don't know if it's majority, but strategic position, and puts their own people in the New York Stock Exchange. So now the New York Stock Exchange owns. It gets weirder though. They own T0, which you would think like, okay, fine. They screwed the upcoming guy. They gave it to the incumbent. It's International Continental, but ICE is the parent company, right? And by the way, I'm not saying anything negative about ICE at all. I'm not even implicating or indicating or whatever that ICE did anything wrong here. But somehow it ends up in ICE's hands, which is what I hadn't predicted. I thought it was going to replace it. But here's where it gets weird. The license that T0 wanted, that they kept saying, well, we don't have this license. We don't have a license like this. Was just for security tokens. They just said you can do it, but you can't say it's SEC approved. They're going to give us all these very specific things, But then they come up and they like a magic, Gary Gensel pulls out of his this magic bullet license. It gives it to Prometheum. So Prometheum, that has no technology, no products, is directly tied into and completely reliant on Wansheng. Tied right back in, and we've got them tied back in all the way back to the ICO. So it's not like this is a new entity. They give them the license instead of T0. So they take T0 out. Like T0 could have was the game changer for eliminating much of the manipulation and corruption that are being done by the financial institutions in the financial markets. Ethereum was more talking about like the monetary system, eventually.
Yeah.
So people don't know about that one, but it's actually public. So it's like if you just put the pieces together, but then when you see my stuff come out and you see like my linking to it, the people that did it, the date I was arrested on, like I waited a year and a half, and like they don't arrest me, and all of a sudden they arrest me the day of that dividend. And why are they getting rid of a dividend? And you'll see there's a bunch of articles that like describe, are we going to have another GameStop situation? And so then there was nobody else to kind of discuss it at that point.
Bro, I remember when they did that with all these all the dumb non-custodial exchanges like Robinhood and stuff. They stopped all the trading on AMC, GameStop. They stopped trading on Doge. Remember they did? Dude, it's in your face if you just pay attention. Man, Steve, I can't wait for
I was long.
Last wide open.
I was long GameStop. I saw that, and then like all of a sudden you couldn't buy, and like
couldn't
the
do shit. They just turn it off.
500.
How is that legal? Yeah.
I mean, saw 100,000. There was that was interesting because, it showed you something. Like there were like 100,000 blocks of GameStop getting smashed back and forth. Those were other hedge funds trying to take down like whoever the guys that were trying to that were shorted. Like so. One hopeful thing was not all the hedge funds are bad, right? Like some of them don't like the bad guys, right? And so there's like. But in this situation, it was like there wasn't anybody to come like help them, right? They just literally stole an asset that was blockchain, was going to create transparency in our financial markets. You can like spaghetti cover up your shorting, and make it impossible to like for the regulators to to parse it and see what you really did. But with a blockchain-based system that Patrick came out with, no, I mean, it's like, a button, it does an analysis, and boom, and it tells you exactly who owns what, what happened, where the flows of funds were, right? And like, that's what they don't want. There were articles that at some points, 50% of some of the investment banks' profits were related to illegal short selling. That's a huge one that has not been. I guess I'm announcing it now. There'll be more on that.
Nice.
But
thank you, Steve, for that nugget.
I just want to add. I'm looking at T0 right now, the website, and I'm like, oh man, they were messing with accredited investors and people who had big money. They were getting ready to flip the game. So that would be a threat to the establishment. Like I'm really looking at the website. I'm like, oh, they were getting ready to be a threat. It still is a threat the way I'm looking at it. T0 they want accredited investors, people who make over 200K. In their case, $1 million a year to come in, and they're looking like, okay, we're going to do pre-IPO companies. We're going to do crypto at some type of level. Like they're literally saying, hey, we're going to mess with digital securities. We don't care. We're going to do that too.
Yeah,
I think that's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I think T0 is legitimate. It's still legitimate. T0P is its own token. So imagine New York Stock Exchange had a token for itself. Again, it gets 10% of the net revenues of the exchange, right? So I think ICE may do some great things with it. Is ICE going to actually use it to create transparency amongst all the markets and do all of that? Like I'm not going to speak for ICE, right? That's I'm sure something that Patrick wanted to do. But aside from that, it does right exactly. So there's these pre-IPO companies. There's they've got a hotel in Aspen that they tokenized and put on there. So all the stuff that, and if something is deemed to be a security, what happens to that? If let's say XRP had been deemed, where would it go? It would have to go to T0. Like there's a home for it.
Yeah.
But the fact that they did this, and then they give this license to Prometheum, and it covered two different, this went from Clayton to Gensler. So like you can't just say it was just this one guy or just this one guy, and there's no explanation for that magic bullet license. It's just none.
Yeah, And also, JP Morgan was caught creating ghost shares and selling ghost shares to people. And Gary knew about it. Well, SEC knew about it and just gave him a slap on the wrist. So there's a lot of corruption between the SEC and Morgan and all the big banks.
Yeah, I think there's a special relationship with those two. I think personally, the SEC has got something else going off the books. I don't want to know. I don't know if it's investigation or something. But they got something with them where they're pumping them information about clients and where transactions are coming from, what they're doing.
For sure.
There's something else going there. It's an irregular behavior for a government agency to be this close to a bank.
Exactly. Steve,
shout out to Bagman in the chat. Guys, please.
The chat's on fire today.
We appreciate
Steve, I can't
this.
even keep up with the chat, man. You got it on fire.
We couldn't have done none of this today without Bagman in Extra Bullish Hour, bro. Thank you. Hit the like, hit subscribe, tell your mama, tell your grandmama. Let's go.
Hey, you guys want to wrap this one up?
Sunday.
You guys want to wrap this one up and hop over to coffee time? We're at double overtime.
You mind coming back on the show maybe next month or something whenever you get free time? We would love to have you. I mean, we got a lot of questions we need to ask you.
I got one last question.
My pleasure. You guys have a great show.
How do you feel about Tether?
You know, I mean, I know the guys. I know the guys that created Tether, and then I know the guys that they sold it to, and like it's like it colors me because I don't think like those guys were trying to. And I know actually, a friend of mine's Craig Sellers who actually invented it, right? And Craig's a really good dude, and he's done a lot for this industry, right? And like he's just kind of not as recognized as he should be, but really smart. And so like he wouldn't have created something for fraud, right? But that seems to me like a situation where, you know, a lot of people are, you know, talking about the entity or whatever, but could it be used? Like it's kind of hard to see that it's not. I mean, it's pumping up the price, right? I mean, it's like you know, more of that's created than it's buy more Bitcoin. Like, I mean, so that's clear. It's just is it being done for nefarious reasons? I think the question though is if it is or isn't, you know, what's the systemic risk to that? Like, you know, if it crashes, like we're like, don't worry about cleaning up crypto. Like crypto's like white. I mean, we'll have crypto 2.0 the next day. I mean, like because there'll be nothing left, like pretty much. So that's like you know, the systemic risks, and Patrick, by the way, important. Alan Greenspan said we have systemic risks, and when he reviewed 2008, you know, so much of everything that's happening is a reaction to 2008. Satoshi created Bitcoin as a reaction to 2008. Patrick created this because Greenspan said one of three things created the three factors. One of those was settlement. If you remember with Lehman Brothers, everything froze. Like there was just no settlement, right? Because it's got this stupid, you know, I won't go into like how the current system is, but it's not, you know, it's not a peer-to-peer system, which it was originally supposed to be in the 60s, but they chose to do this other system, which, you know, is highly inefficient. Well, Patrick created T0 to eliminate the settlement issue. And T0 is really, you know, T+3 they have. You know, the trade is the settlement, so you have no settlement issues, so the markets won't freeze up. You know, so that's like a huge thing. You know, now you go back to like Tether, you got to look at what's the systemic risk, and at this point now, here's like the real issue is like it's a systemic risk, not to crypto because crypto now, like again, I think great that he legitimized Bitcoin, you know, and put this, you know, you put his stamp of approval, like that's probably more than the Federal Reserve, you know, like, but, you know, but he's done some, you know, great stuff. I'm not going to make an opinion on him, but it's like, what it's happened is now crypto is now become Wall Street, right?
Yep.
They've
100%.
Right. So now this starts, you know, it's 100, I don't know, what is 100, what is Tether at right now, you know, in terms of market cap?
I can tell you right now.
Thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks for hitting the like. Thank you for doing.
I mean, what you're talking about, let's say it's $200 billion, whatever it is. You know, you're talking about, you know, a mid-size Nasdaq tech company, right? Like that's not systemic risk to Wall Street yet. You know, but if you get more ETFs,
and Bitcoin goes to $1 million, and you got all this other stuff, and you've still got this underlying thing that now it may be like 2 billion, 2 trillion, or whatever the number is. It may become like a big number, and then you've got the situation where you can take one thing that's systemic, that could be. It's not just also the size; it's kind of like the pressure point. And as we saw with like Lehman, maybe that wasn't such a good decision to take down Lehman, because you took down that one thing. You saw the domino effect on that. And I think that's the real concern about Tether, whether or not it's legitimate or not. It has that potential to cause a domino effect.
Well, the symbol is an atomic mushroom cloud.
Yeah,
Nerdy brings it up regularly. It's pretty ironic. It's pretty funny.
It is. It's at 99 point.
You can't make that up, man.
Yeah,
it's at 99.22 billion. That's crazy.
It's also interesting that I find it interesting. Zuckerberg tries to come out with his project a couple of years ago, and they haul his ass right and like you are. Let's like interpret what they said. You are not competing with the U.S. dollar, right? Like, we don't care what you do. You're just not, you're not issuing this to your 2 point whatever billion people and competing with the U.S. dollar. But Tether, like, it's kind of interesting that they haven't, done more. I think the New York AG, raised a bunch of hell. Letitia James, who I will say, I haven't mentioned this before, the New York Attorney General and Letitia, that group, senior prosecutors from that group were involved in my prosecution. They tried setting me up.
Yeah. You know what I find odd is like how's all this going around and they're not even saying anything about Circle. Circle issues USDC.
Yeah. True.
And they're in pre-IPO. How is the Fed going to go public? Like, that just seems off for me.
Like with with Tyler and Cameron put out, that's like a legitimate project that that it's backed by dollars. They're audited, blah blah blah, supposedly. So that's what I understand it to be. But this is backed by nothing. I mean, this was the U.S. dollar, right? But there's whatever the full faith and credit of the United States. There's something else has to be going on that they're allowing something to compete with the U.S. dollar that's not backed by. If it's backed by the U.S. dollar, that it's not competing with the U.S. dollar. And I was I think I was the first one. It's on YouTube. It's a conference, centralization of decentralized services, and she kind of caught me by surprise. And she said, careful what everybody get ready for this. And Steve thinks that governments are going to start issuing their own crypto dollars and cryptocurrency. This is before CBDCs were really being talked about. And I got booed. I don't know if it was a coincidence. It was about 100 people from Consensus in the audience, but that's like a side point. But
well, there you go.
But and then this was interesting. I kind of caught this, but where did this come from? After she tells me the whole thing, and I explained to her, I said, well, I'm not I don't need a crystal ball. I'm like, the government views its job as controlling the people. You've just given them a tool that we think is going to give us liberty. But actually, if you take this tool and you issue it as the government, you've got, makes 1984 look like, a freedom festival, right? And it's so I explain all of this to her, and she kind of we have this, and you can find it's like a 3-minute, it's like 4:25 into the conversation. And you know what she said after all of that? She said, well, it's interesting because I told Joe Lubin what you said, and he thinks you're full of FUD, fear, uncertainty, and just pushing fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And he doesn't quite see this dystopian empire, future, because maybe in some fringe countries, but not major countries. Well, first of all, that didn't age too well for Joe. But why is he trying to discredit me? And they tried to discredit me a year and a half before my arrest, which is interesting, right? Why would they be doing that? They literally write me out of their history. And why is Joe publicly discrediting me? Also you think about the CBDCs, and how that plays into this other part of the quorum and the Ripple part and like all of that. Like why him of all people?
So
Yeah.
I'm telling you, what they probably did was there was a couple meetings that you were not there, where the mindset probably changed to the bad characters you had before, and they were like, well, who's not going to ride with this? And boom, you got tapped. And I guarantee you that always happens that way.
They missed me on some of the invites. That's true. Or I missed my calendar invite, right?
No, you didn't miss the calendar invite. You were not invited.
Yeah, no, people have asked me, and they said, like, why didn't they just bring you in? Yeah, they asked me, like, why didn't they just bring in, like, some guy asked me recently, he's like, why did they just give you, like, $10 billion and just, like, shut you up? Like, because, like, what's that to them? Like, in all reality, it's like nothing, right? For all that they've taken. And I said, I mean, to be fair, I said they never tried. Like, nobody ever. I'm not going to say I turned anything down. I would have, right? I mean, obviously, but that is the point. The fact that they never even tried to get me in, I'm giving up all my ether, which plus what I had going into the sale. This is like the night before we made this decision in order to protect the project, not me. And so that's like $1 million ether. I hand back Joe like my whole stake in Consensus, and I've dropped that. Like, I owned Consensus.com, and I've like showed I have all these documents that show I went to the lawyers first. Joe was CC'd on the email. I was setting up the company and everything, and I just kind of walked away from that. And so the only thing I can surmise is like they realized like money is not what's going to get me to do something, right? And if anything, probably they made the right call and the wrong call. They made the right call in not trying to get me in, because probably I would have just blown the whistle on them and just I would have said, yeah, let me think about it, and then just gone and blown the whistle on them. But they made the wrong call in that coming after me, because I may have not figured any of this out.
Well, look where we're at now. We're at 25,000 watchers, and John Deaton's 95K listeners. Like, it's on like Donkey Kong now. Let's go.
Yeah, Steven, they realized your integrity was going to be way more than they could deal with.
Don't
and
fuck
I think
with Steve.
They were already approached by the bad guys who were internal, then they had some external, and they just had the meeting without you and was like, don't invite him, let's talk. And they probably either met up somewhere, chatted somewhere, and it was decided Steve's got to go.
Yeah.
It's and people talk about JP Morgan, and Joe talks about JP Morgan being there early, right? I looked through my calendar. I found some really interesting stuff that I had forgotten. Like, it says meeting with the Federal Reserve with Joe. I didn't remember that, but I never remember talking to JP Morgan. I don't remember ever hearing that they were involved. I never had any interactions with them, and nobody ever said anything to me. They talked about Goldman, but I think that was more because of Joe's background and some of the other people like Novogratz and who had been at Goldman, and so that was more of a conspiracy. Maybe it had truth to it or not. I don't know about the institution itself. But,
they may have been represented by a third party. Sometimes what those companies will do is they'll have a third party represent their interest, and they'll have a different name on it, right? So it's like, hey, this is so and so. They're not going to tell you who they're. They'll say, hey, we just have some banking interest people with us or something like that. So, but you probably had thousands of meetings.
Why I didn't understand. To be fair, I really didn't understand why they came after me. I'm like, I knew I did stuff that what I thought was good, like the utility token, the ICO. Like, I was giving guidance basically that the SEC should have been giving, right? And I was just like, and like somebody kind of explained to me, it's like you kind of put a force field when around crypto, with the utility token argument that was hard for them to break when it was embryonic, and then you gave them, with the ICO, this like offensive weapon to go out and raise billions and tens of billions of dollars and explode the industry, right? So I kind of me and my attorneys were thinking like it had some general thing that they generally didn't like me, but no, it wasn't. I don't think it was that. I'm sure that was that too, but no, there was actually some specific reasons that I had documents One Deaton put out on, it was kind of quick, he showed it, where they, I can explain it basically, but in essence, they internally did not believe they did not fulfill their internal requirements to be decentralized, meaning Ethereum. And this was a document signed by Vitalik himself. So when I look at the email of that, there were two other people that had seen this document. I guarantee you these two people have no idea what that document said. But it was the opinion letter and then a certificate that attached to that. And I was the only, it was like Joe, the lawyer, Vitalik, and me. Well, it turns out I was the odd man out because like I knew that document existed. I hadn't really been thinking about it until they came after me to go back and research, and I have thousands of documents. I was getting documents from every aspect of the organization. Like they said, I wasn't very involved. I like human resources, finance. Like you go through everything. I restructured every aspect of the Ethereum Foundation. And for anybody who doesn't believe it, just listen to that recording.
Damn, this is right. It is run
They rug Steve,
No.
Live
Bro,
on
this
the
is
Extra
run
Bullish
up,
Hour.
bro.
Let's
Subscribe,
get
hit like.
okay.
Back.
Oh, there he is.
Hey, you
There,
should
see?
go on to the other show.
Hit
Oh, I'm
subscribe,
back.
hit like, everyone. Do it now.
No, we got scared, Steve. You dropping bombs today.
No,
We got
listen, hey, did you guys see Mario on Crypto Town Hall? So Deaton comes in, they invite me on, and I actually Rand invited me, and I told Rand, I messaged him, he said, why aren't you coming on? I said, because I think it's a trap, right? Deaton comes on, Deaton's like explaining and defending me and explaining, like, he's seen the documents, and he said, he literally said, I can tell you that what Vitalik and Joe have said about Nerayoff publicly are lies. I've seen the documents, they're lying, and then it goes silent for 30 something minutes, right? Then they come back, and I got no issue with him, I'm friends with him, but they start talking about BitBoy. I'm like that couple weeks, every time something came out about me, something came out about BitBoy, and I'm like, am I Trump and BitBoy's like my Hunter Biden or something? Like every time something comes out about me, they bring up something about BitBoy. Like there's a huge story about me, and then his watch comes up, like it's like 2.5 million views, and like everybody's talking about his watch, his Rolex watch. He's a good dude. I have no issue with him, but to cut off Deaton for 30 minutes, and what I showed Deaton was like, do you want to explain to you very briefly what that document says?
Do it, Steve. Do it, bro.
Yeah, I mean, here's the gist of it. Is, and I think this will get reported, but the gist of it is, Hinman said a couple things. Hinman said that Bitcoin was decentralized from the beginning, right?
Yeah.
First of all, that's not true. That's like, no, it's absolutely not true. A handful of people, Satoshi and a few other people, mined the first 25%. It was in like a very small group of people that got the first 25% of all the Bitcoin. Right. And I think part of this is what Craig is suing for, and Dave Kleinman, and it was like a couple other people that nobody like really knew much about it at the time. So that was one issue, and then the second one was saying, but it's decentralized, and we don't see a third party reactor, and then the same for Ethereum. Problem is that the Ethereum opinion had a clause in it that required that actually said that the problem that Bitcoin had a problem that we want to avoid. I'm interpreting it. Like I can give you show you the exact language. But basically, they're saying that Bitcoin was not decentralized at the beginning because a few miners got a bulk of this 25% of the first mined Bitcoin, and we want to avoid that. Except Ethereum had the opposite issue. Ethereum's issue was it had a pre-mine, and they wanted to avoid the imbalance of people who bought versus the miners who hadn't even started mining yet. So now it was 100%. Okay, I'm not even getting into the fact that the purchasers were completely concentrated themselves. I'm just talking about purchasers like imagine there was 10,000 purchasers and it was totally decentralized. They're just saying
Yeah.
that relative, then there's 0% in miners. And so
Mhm.
they said that the way we're going to resolve that is by issuing the same amount that we issued in the pre-mine
Mhm.
miners over a specific period of time, very specific. And
Yeah.
during that specific period of time, which was right around the speech, they hadn't issued even half that much.
Mhm.
So, like, the way to read that is, we don't think we're decentralized. And we didn't think Bitcoin was decentralized at the beginning. So we want to
Mhm.
avoid that. And the way we're going to avoid that is by using this formula, issuing it to the same numbers. So in a certain number of years, this miners will own the same amount of ether as the initial contributors to the pre-mine, which is like 60 million ether. And they had
Sounds like
issued
a
like
security.
what?
It sounds like a security to me.
Well, what they were trying to do was they were trying to get out the security headlock by issuing that amount out to the miners.
Mhm.
That kind of diffuses it when the lawsuit comes.
Right, but they only
Is that
issued less than half of that. So it means their opinion letter that I worked so hard to get.
Mhm.
I mean, I set up the structure, but then like how they actually executed, I wasn't on the back end. I didn't see the money coming in to the ICO. What was coming in, but what I know is that this, you can look on CoinMarketCap and you can see the date, the month that they were supposed to issue, 60 million, and there's only 30 million issued, like 28 million, something like that, by that point. So they don't meet the requirements under their own documents. Those documents were written by a guy, Jeff Alberts, who was that prior Cashman. Jeff Alberts was in, I believe, the meeting. I believe he was in the meeting with Vitalik, and I believe both Vitalik's meeting and Joe Lubin's meeting at the SEC were under oath. So it's 1001. You can't conceal or lie or anything. So I can't imagine that they said this and he still wrote the speech. I'm not saying that Hinman didn't know about it, but that's like officially, didn't say it.
Yeah, he can't
Jeff
be ignorant at
Albert,
that level of the game. He can't be ignorant. He can't be ignorant. No way him can be that ignorant and you're the top dog like that.
right?
Exactly.
But Jeff Alberts, he was in that meeting, and he would have an obligation to let them know. But lo and behold, and this one may be the only coincidence in the case, because I actually found Jeff Alberts and first approached him because of his SEC experience. Well, it turns out a familiar name to a lot of people is Mark Berger, that dropped the enforcement action against Ripple and also went to Simpson with Hinman. He and Jeff Alberts, I think he was a supervisor or something at the SDNY, like a number of years earlier. So like this web is all connected. And something else that there's so much of this, but I'm just giving you like tidbits. Mark Berger, December 2010, when Lubin makes contact with Hinman, Mark Berger is assigned to the New York regional office. The New York regional office is the one that led my prosecution. Also, John Daniels. Yeah, exactly. But I mean, it's not supposed to lead a prosecution. They actually put a guy, John Enright, in the EDNY to watch over like my prosecution. Like, they're not supposed to be involved, and by their own court documents, they weren't supposedly involved. But they have 14 gigs of data on me, right? So like,
yeah.
Then when we actually showed them the videos, all of a sudden John Enright makes an appearance on my case, like as an official prosecutor on my case. So this was all under Mark Berger. Then Mark Berger leaves that position and goes into enforcement and files the lawsuit with Hinman, and then goes over with Hinman to Simpson Thatcher. Maybe it's all coincidences. Like,
that's not a coincidence. This is a play.
This is a play. Honestly, it seems to me that like the United States government and China and the big bankers are all concluding together to basically create or do a financial takeover. That's what it honestly seems like. And like Ripple was a threat to them.
Yeah, I mean, Ripple was a little too good for its own good. I mean, like they were, you know, and I was saying it back then. I'm like, you need to look at Chris and Brad and like look at the way they're running their organization. That's how we need to run. You need to run Ethereum like that, right? You're running it like, you know, like the bodega down the street. You know, like oops, we dropped some oranges. Oops, we dropped some, you know, projects and like they were fraudulent. It's like the fact that they and that like recommendation that I gave, that was like a McKinsey level, like 3-4 months it took me going through every aspect of the organization. And you see three hours of conclusions that I'm giving him. Right. So and he asked me to do that. He was desperate. You know, it's yeah, your point is pretty like right. I mean, it's scary. Like it
It
know,
is scary.
you say it to somebody and it's like so like what? And, you know, like what do you mean? Like the CCP is like cooperating with our agencies and some banks to take over the monetary system, but like I'm not, you know, I'm not saying that's what's happening, but like somebody show me some other rationale for why this is going on, right? Like
it quacks like a duck, it walks like a duck.
Well, I mean,
exactly. If you think about it, it makes sense, and I'll give you why it makes sense. If the world has to be reorganized, you have to have the biggest superpowers there to split the pie. The biggest superpowers are China, United States, Russia, who got kicked from the party, but they're probably still talking to them because you got to talk to the people with nukes. You got to talk to the Saudis, and you got to talk to some countries in Africa. But now that they're forming something, it's kind of like America and China had the talk. If you read the book Sun Tzu's Art of War, the Chinese always believe in say one thing and do another. It's one of the 5 seasons of war. But yeah, I would tell you guys, it makes sense, and I think you got caught in the wait. I think you weren't. I think they believed you weren't going to go along with all this type of stuff.
Yeah, I'll tell you this. There's two things. One, when I was first it was uncovering like what happened, why did they like do this, who did this to me, you know, after 3.5 years, you know, and then we finally figured it out, and there's agencies, you know, and then you know, uncovering the next component, the Ethgate component, the T0, and then uncovering, you know, and then boring uncovering of the on-chain stuff. We went by this rule the whole time, and it turns out coincidentally somebody showed me that Sherlock Holmes actually said this, if there was a Sherlock Holmes, but like, you know, once you've eliminated all, right, but he said it's once. I'm paraphrasing. Once you've eliminated all possibilities, whatever remains, however illogical, must be the answer. And like, so there was, you know, you might want to have my attorney on here because, you know, we like dug in this together, right? For like
someone give Deaton a link. Get Deaton up here. Where's John at? I know he's watching. Come on here.
You guys want to bring him on the show? You want to bring him on?
Deaton, bro.
Bring him on.
Real quick. Sorry to interrupt you.
We could do a separate show for John.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
And I think he could also showcase, you know, some of why like he should get support from the industry. But there were, I would say, a couple dozen times or more where we had these like insane like conclusions, but it was the only possibility left, and we're like, but this like crazy, like this. We thought it was crazy, but and every single time it turned out to be correct, and so I've been really careful to do one thing, like, and only talk about facts. So people go on to like my X account. And you can look, and I've dropped a lot of receipts. I don't say anything, you know, that I don't have some factual backup. You know, if I say I'm thinking this, you know, then I'll just say it's an opinion, right? But what I don't want to have happen, I don't want, you know, like my integrity, I said, was key. Along with that is, I'm not going to allow them to ever like, if you know, put a Wikipedia and say conspiracy theorist, you know, like RFK. You know, actually, you know, like so much of what he says is like actually like factual. You can go look it up. You know, it's convenient truths. That's the problem. And inconvenient truths that people don't like, that sound crazy, very easily get you labeled a conspiracy theorist. So I don't allow people to do that.
Yeah, certain people in government can never allow him to be in government. I'm just gonna be honest. If he released a quarter of the stuff that had been going on for a year since the 40s, 30s, 40s up to now, we'd fall over and teeter, But that's how fragile society is.
But John is like a symbol of hope, though. He's more than a running politician or a running mate or whatever. Like he's a sign of hope that things are actually changing.
Yeah,
there is some
so John Dean, yes. Robert Kennedy,
John,
no.
bro.
Sorry,
John, we've been watching John from the gate, dude, and he's a darling, bro. He's an angel.
Yeah,
he's a good dude.
I think John, yes. The guy who's running Kennedy for president, I think no. I think they'll never let him in. But I think John Deaton, I think he has a chance to unseat Elizabeth Warren, but her state has to realize that they've been occupied by Wall Street for a minute, and I'm not sure if they know that yet.
Yeah, but I will say this: I've got a guy. I've been contacted by people in crypto. I'm sorry, in politics. They've said two things to me. One about John in particular, and by and large, they were haters of John. Like for whatever reason, like nothing. Whatever, I don't know why, people in politics hate somebody or don't. And one of them called me and said, he said he's been watching races for, decades, whatever. He said, this may be the single best execution of a start of a campaign that he's ever seen. The way John has launched his campaign. He's like, and he said, because I'm a hater. Because I wasn't rooting for him. He goes, but if I have to be objective, the guy's freaking crushing it. And he didn't think he had a chance against Warren. And I said, you think he's got a chance? He's like, he goes, I don't know now. Because I didn't think anybody would ever have a chance because of how much power she has. If she needs and goes to the DNC, he says, give me $20 million. Like, she might be the one, one of the people that has that kind of, pull. But, there have been prominent, national figures that were taken out in certain races, in other areas. So it's not like anybody is. Look, who expected Trump to win, right? Over Hillary, she was the establishment, right? That wasn't supposed to happen, right?
Exactly.
And it did. So I think John's got a really good shot.
Hell yeah.
Well, we haven't even woken up yet, bro. Like most of the lurkers, they don't even want to participate. Wait till you get the people that want to be left alone activated. Let's go.
Yeah.
This is the very beginning, Steve. You're starting up you're lighting the fuse, bro. I love it.
Someone wrote a comment saying that.
Thanks, but we're all been in a raging fire this whole time. Like the fuse was lit a long time ago, right?
Yeah,
I'm actually, with all due respect, I'm trying to put the fire out, right?
It's a dumpster fire, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I think John's of the same opinion. Like we didn't start this fight. Yeah. We thought we were living in a democracy, where we had liberties.
Yeah, exactly.
That it's not the democracy that we thought we had. And if you listen to John, the thing that's really that I love, he doesn't even talk about crypto in his opening commercial, right? But he really understands the issues and speaks to the issues way better than Warren does, and way better than almost anybody that I've heard. His grasp of the issues, inflation and food and employment, the things that are really important to Massachusetts residents, but should be important to the national residents. Us as a crypto community should be also. But Elizabeth Warren wields some really big power. I mean, that one agency that she created is to me, it's the most draconian agency, and it's kind of it has this power that's outside of, and there was huge controversy about it, but they just got to push through, and then it answers to the Federal Reserve, and there's else. There's one director. That's the kind of stuff.
The corruption goes so deep. It's disgusting. Go ahead.
And it also smells to me that, man, this is going to get deep. That
go deep,
the agency she heads, it's a funding source for something else, right? It's a funding source.
Their budget is almost $800 million a year. That agency.
Yeah,
That's
well,
crazy.
I mean, hold
That's
on.
crazy.
So you can't tell me there's 800 million worth of fraud hitting consumers with consumer products. I mean, is there?
Yeah.
So meaning, yeah, if you follow the money, this is going somewhere else.
You guys should look at that agency, just really look at the arguments that were coming up about that agency. It's there are like it's not like everybody in Congress is bad. I mean, like even Prometheum when they came out, like it happened to be a lot of Republicans, but like they like raised hell. They were like, what is this going on? Like, what's going on? And they still got to push through. I still don't understand the license. Like nobody's explained this to anybody. Like, why? Where did this license come from? Why did they give it to them? You've got T0 wasn't the only one, but they were the leader in the space. Like, why didn't they get it? But your point, people ask me like, what do you think? Is it the CCP? Have they called out our agencies or where? I'm like, I don't really know. Like, they don't invite me to their meetings either. So like Joe and the CCP don't invite me. But it's kind of the history of that particular organization, and then it gets attached to this Prometheum. And there was, a lot of very high level meetings between that and it's an auto freaking supply company, right? Like, that's a really politically charged company. That like auto supplies. I mean, like it's an Acme Corp, so it kind of looks boring, right? So I mean, like that doesn't make any sense. But thanks, it would sound crazy, and this is where like Boring's data comes in. You can't argue with the on-chain data. You just can't. It's like right there.
Data is ones and zeros. You can't argue with it. It is what it is.
What does Apex say? The facts don't care about my feelings.
Data doesn't care about your feelings. Shout out to Apex Crypto.
That's funny.
Yeah,
bro, I love it. So Steve, what's on the horizon from here on out? Because we got Boring and you and possibly a whole other team. You're obviously not suicidal. You look great. Skin looks great.
I
You're
love
glowing. Yeah.
Love life.
What do you want to
These
talk
guys
about?
don't
What
listen.
you want?
There's a lot more, and I'm not saying this in terms of like because I don't want all the truth to come out, but there's a certain point where like more truth coming out may not be a good thing for society.
Yeah.
Like that 14 gigs that they've got on me. Like I would not even say just expose that and put it into the public domain because there could be stuff in there that like could cause civil unrest. It's like my name happens to be on, but like, not necessarily about me. But like it's those meetings, much of those were happening at Treasury, and so but why? That's it can't be just all that stuff just on me. A lot of that is probably reports, on task force because like we were talking about earlier, that my name got placed in, that being said, if anything happens to anybody, and they know this, it's been put into a number of hands, and at that point, then everything just gets launched, to reporters, to other public sources, to the people themselves. We put that into place. And I'm not more a dead man switch. I mean, like I do have that too, but that was early on. It's more, I've got a lot of very live, powerful people that have this information. Press, politicians.
Did Robert Mendez, did his name ever pop up any of this stuff? Because right now, for the securities, insurance, and investment side, he's actually the majority member. And Elizabeth is underneath him.
Interesting.
And it said, "This is deep." I'll post it in the chat.
My thing's about to die.
We could actually. So we could do.
If you want to go on,
I'm fine. I think we need to just everybody should regroup and let's do another one sometime.
Yeah.
It's up to Bags. This is his show. I'm just a guest. So
definitely. Anytime. Yeah. Maybe get you and Dean on, or
I think having Dean on would be good. Having Boring on would be good. It's difficult to explain this because, like, I mean, I'm talking about something here, and it all kind of like sounds bad, but then when you really lay it out, on a canvas, then you all of a sudden start seeing, whoa, well, this is actually like a long story that actually makes sense from beginning to end. And there's, and I've been approached by people that want to do books, television series, documentaries. The only one I've done was and I want to give a plug for this one because I think it's important. Fruition Productions is doing one for on Ripple. I'm forgetting what the name of it is. Someone remember that? But it's a 6-part series, and one part. I agreed to do that, like actually on behalf of kind of the XRP community, and they're taking a piece, and it's Chris and Maya Dodge that they're actually XRP holders that had the skills to put this documentary together. Extremely professional, extremely smart, like very plugged in, and they're doing an amazing job. I showed up there, and yeah, that's it. Give those
XRP
guys,
Unleashed.
I would give those guys as much support as possible. They're putting together a really powerful production. It's focused on the litigation against XRP, against Ripple rather, but and just by a fluke, because I came on the wrong day, and so and I ended up bumping into Brad and Di. So the three of us were there, which was really helpful because those guys were lobbing questions at me while I was being questioned. Hey, ask him about ask him about this guy's whale.
Question grenades.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, Brad's throwing we got a May 4th, 5th weekend coming up, XRP Las Vegas, and then Bagman's got a moon party show coming up too. That's going to pop off too coming up. Brad Kimes and then DAI, I'm sure he'll be there too. So those guys are hilarious.
For me, I actually hate all of this stuff. Like, it's kind of toxic to me, right? Like, I don't want to be living my life exposing corruption after corruption. But it's like, what choice? What choice did I have? Go into a hole for the rest of my life, knowing what I know? Like, I couldn't. I was like, I don't know. I guess I didn't know what choice I would make until you're put into a position like this. You can't ever make that. What are you going to do when there's entire regimes that you're exposing, and no other choice if you're either going to go or not, and you're not halfway pregnant. I'm a builder though. That's I want to build in this space. I have what I think is the most ambitious project that has the most technology ever that I've been building for 10 years and have not announced it. And I'm waiting kind of for this to go out publicly so nobody says I'm trying to take advantage of this.
The balls on this guy. And look at the balls on this guy, bro. Let's go.
It just seems like it's like a circle where we keep going out where there's so much corruption. We try to vote these people out. They rig elections and they stay in, and then they continue their reign or whatever they do. So it's like we've turned into literally a crony capitalist country, and it's very sickening that we have tyrants that are in office are just getting away with this crap. It's beyond me. It's crazy.
A lot of this, I think, what you're saying is the oversight committees that are responsible for policing them are not doing their job, because basically, except for some of the stuff that I knew privately, right, that I'm exposing myself, so much of this has been brought to financial services, to weaponization, to judiciary, and then there's subcommittees, and so they're aware, and they're just, and all they say is, we're going to subpoena you, we're going to subpoena you, we're going to subpoena you, and no subpoena comes, which is kind of bizarre. Why not? So I think you're right, but the problem is that that's the system set up in a way to that's what's broken right there.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Okay.
Your battery's draining, Steve.
Yeah, I think we need to wrap it up and reschedule because.
Yeah.
I mean, if anybody wants, we're probably going to be putting up some stuff soon. You can watch my X account or Boring's X account.
Yeah, can you post this X account so we all can get in there?
Yeah, so it's here. Hold on, I'll put it in the chat. It's literally my name at Stephen Nerayoff.
Because I guarantee you got some bots now. You got some feds who got your name with a couple numbers in the back. You know, they're waiting for the DMs and all the good
14 gigabytes, bro. 14 gigabytes.
Yeah, man, it's hard to shake them guys off, man.
I can't put it in the chat, but if you guys can put it in the chat.
Guys, Blue Crew, mount up. Blue Crew, mount up. At Stephen Nerayoff. Put it in the chat. Also put in boring. Where's boring at?
Yeah.
Bags got it. Bags got it in there, guys. Hit subscribe. Go follow Steve now. Do it.
See if I can find boring real quick.
Boring's up in this piece right
here.
there, bro. Boom. At Boring Sleuth. Let's go.
Dropping that in the chat. Shout out to everybody.
Like seriously, that guy's a national hero. I mean, what he's done, and I would not have been able to give. What people don't realize is he's been investigating this and pulling up this data for 2 years. So people that don't understand on-chain data and going back so many years, and then they like made this stuff like spaghetti, to cover it all up, so like it'd be impossible to find. Like this guy has like meticulously like undone this and when we got to talking, and I was appreciative of what he said. He's like, I didn't find, I was waiting for somebody that could do something with this and make it noise about it, bring it public, and then I could trust. And he kind of watched me for a few months and then made connection, and then we started working together. But it's interesting.
Filtering the muddy water, bro. Unfiltered, filter that muddy water.
I put up a post. It's on my newsfeed, and I challenged all of the sleuths, the influencers, the reporters. I said everybody in the industry that would normally cover something like this, and I think we were talking about Geekcoin, and I said, here, Boring has put out all the data. He's implicated, he's implicated Lubin in his wallet, communicating with the hackers.
Damn.
I wonder if
twice, rugged twice in one stream.
Boz says we're at 15 gigabytes now.
We got 2 rugs in one stream with 31,000 viewers,
A
bro.
whole bunch of people said they had to restart their phones, restart their apps, and all kinds of stuff.
Bro, yeah. I was refreshing my screen, man. So, but
let's give him a couple
seconds.
Crazy,
bro. You killed it today, man. Steven killed it.
It's all rigged, bro. The whole thing is bullshit. It's crazy.
So the thing I was looking at.
Shout out to the chat. We love you guys. Hit like, hit subscribe. Go ahead.
The crazy thing, and we'll do some filler time before he gets back so we can properly exit. But the thing I was looking about the ETH is they issued a lot. They still have high gas fees, even though they went away from the miners. So it's like, okay, you went away from the miners, and it's proof of stake. So the people with all the ETH are still getting it again. You see what I'm saying? And it's an unlimited supply. And then it's gone to, you didn't hear from me, but we're talking about other countries have a part of it. Wallets are shooting stuff out. You're talking government agencies going after an American who didn't do anything. You had to pay a lot of money for a lawyer because the feds ain't free.
Yeah. It's just crazy, bro.
Well, dude, shout out to Steve for coming on, brother. Have a good day.
Hell yeah. Broke the internet, broke YouTube, broke Twitter, broke the broke phones.
And you know what the funny thing is?
Shout out to
I guarantee
you, Bags. Thanks for having us on, bro. This is pimp.
Yeah, I guarantee you people didn't know he was coming on to hit hard like that. He hit it hard today, bro. I was like, I'm sitting here trying to write and research. I'm like, oh, he's dropping a bomb. I would have never went to that website. I pride myself in knowing pre-IPO companies, but the way they even covered up this T0 stuff was just grimy.
It's grimy as hell, bro.
Grimy. Hey, you guys still running coffee time today?
Yeah,
it's
why
been
not?
going.
Fuck it.
It's going in the background. So
it's just killing, bro. Dude, this is unprecedented, man. That shit, we're Gucci, dude.
Hey, Bag. So let's make this move as possible. If we can make this
Almost
move.
did triple overtime today. Let's
Can
go.
you get Steven
3
and
for Bagman? That's epic, man.
That is epic.
Crazy.
If you can get Steven and John Deaton back,
And
I say we
boring,
do 4 hours.
boring sleuth.
But you know what's crazy though?
Boring,
It's like,
bro.
a lot of the stuff that we brought up today was things that we talk about on Back Show and on Berserker and Buster Show. It's
We've
literally
been
the
done
same
talking about
stuff
that shit for years, bro. We know that shit's scammy
But
as
it's
fuck.
just been validated
grimy.
today. Everything's got validated today, which is amazing.
Everybody's
not
like,
crazy.
they know what they're talking about. I swear
Vitalik
they know.
Vitalik was sleeping on his couch, bro. Vitalik was sleeping on his couch, bro.
Yeah.
Like,
Exactly.
you can't make that shit up.
Putting
dude.
boogers on the wall.
Regulations
Boogers on
don't
the wall.
Boogers on the
They
wall.
probably had
Yeah,
to clean up.
picking his
You know
nose.
the funny thing? You know the funny thing? Steve was the missing linchpin in all the stuff we talk about. He was the missing linchpin.
Exactly.
Like he just came on, we just start talking about the stuff we naturally talk about, and he's just dropping, oh yeah, I'll tell you more about this. And I'm telling you more. I'm like, I'm sitting here like, I'm not crazy. Like, I feel like I've been crazy for the past 3 years. Now it's like that this dude who's already been in it with the feds and is not guilty is saying, Zeddy, X, Y, and Z. That's what you missed. But you're right. But you missed this. I'm sitting there like, I'm blown. My mind is blown.
Yo, who should we get on next week?
Yeah. We should end it on
Anybody we
the
want to, bro. Anybody we want to. Let's go.
Also, real
So bring
quick, shout out to all those super chats today. We didn't get to them, but Needy for Speed. Let's go, fam. Shout out to Rob Cunningham with the cool show. He says Ethgate connects everything. Every patriot must understand. Follow the money. Connects the slavery monetary system worldwide. Please share. Thank you, Steven. XRP Unleash must be seen. We got Burrowtown Music Group with the $2 super chat. Can you speak about the slews on the payroll? We got Angus Scrim with the $20 super chat. Thank you, Steven, for sharing today. Another one from Rob Cunningham, $50 bomb. Check out Rob Cunningham on Twitter, on X. The cool show. We got Prana, $5. You got 5 on it. Yo, don't forget to smash that likey. We got Gerald, $2. Johnny Cash's middle finger. We got Louisiana. You the man bag. Let's go. Free game for the brain. RPM with the 10 from RPM. Well done, guys. And then we got none other than XRP Plumbing, the $20 super chat. Appreciate
Thank you, brother.
Best
And,
plumber in the industry.
We're also going to donate on behalf of you guys to the John Deaton Senate, running for Senate, from all the guys' super chats today. So we appreciate you guys' your support. Shout out to Zerker, Buster, Fuma, Nerdy, GDLT holding it down on the panel. Extra special shout out to Steven. You can check out all his info in the description box. Also, make sure to give everybody on the panel a follow. All their links and stuff are in the description box. You guys want to get ready to close this one down. Epic show today.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
I just want to say one thing, and I'll shut up. I swear.
Nah, never shut up, bro.
He is one of his top 5. That's all I got to say. Bags out.
Bags out. Pump it up. Pump my bags up.
Actually, I got a
Shout out to
special one
everyone.
for the outro real quick. Let me go ahead and change that out, and then we'll go ahead and close out real quick.
Yeah, John will come on, bro. We'll get Deaton on. He's fun. He's great.
Might be a
we
little
also got
busy right now,
Ari.
but yeah.
Yeah, we got Ari too wanting to come on too. She might come on coffee time, but that'd be great to have like John, Ari, Sleuth, Steve, just everybody.
Oh,
bro.
hell yeah.
That'd be fun. But
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
hit like, hit subscribe. Let's run it. Come on. Let's go. Good job, too, boys. I couldn't have done that.
25,000.
I can't get it on. We'll just do it next time. I was gonna run from the demo to you guys gonna run coffee time, right?
Hell yeah.
It's already live.
Yeah.
We got
everyone watching.
well,
You
we
can
got
get
we're
Uncle
live
Buster's
still, I think,
7311.
on the Extra Bullish Hour.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
we're
still
live still.
Yeah, we're still live. We're
Yeah.
gonna close out. Drop the link for coffee time in the chat. You guys got any final words before we get on out of here?
Bruh.
Bagman, thanks for everything, bro. Let's run it. Thank you guys for being
Yeah.
bullish. We're not crazy. This shit's real. Let's run it. Thank you.
30K viewers,
Told
12,000
you so.
likes, 5 dislikes. Shout out to you guys.
We told you so. We told you so.
Buster,
We told
you
you
got some,
so.
Uncle B, you got some closing remarks?
Man, I mean, I don't even think there's anything to say, man. This show was just on fire today. So, quick 3 hours. And crypto's about to pop, so let's go, man. Just keep it bullish. You can't make it up.
Fuma?
I'm done. It's taco coffee time. I gotta get some water, bro.
Get your coffee cups ready. Coffee time next. What you got, Nerdy?
Bro, stack it while you can, bro. Stack it while you can.
Make sure to
All the money,
smash
people.
the
All the money.
likies. Make sure to hit that subscribe. Drop a comment before you guys head on out. Let us know who you guys want us to get up on the panel for next time. Go ahead, Zerk.
I was gonna say we are Legion. We are normal folks. We are real people. We believe in this. We've seen this coming from miles away for years. And if you're new in here, don't get discouraged. You know, hold on for dear life, because we got the best ticket of a lifetime coming.
It's the
Let's go.
XRP Army. We all heard the calling.
Luke.
Later,
Let's
glitches.
go.
Write
Later.
that down. Where's this outro at?
Killing me, small.
Pump my
Don't let me
bags,
start
bags.
singing.
Pump my bags,
Y'all-
bag man.
Don't start
Pump
singing, bro.
pump my bags up.
Pump it up, pump it up. Pump it up, gotta pump my bags up. Pump it to the moon, pump my bags up. XRP, pump it to the moon. Pump it up, pump my bags up. Pump it up, gotta pump my bags up. Pump it up, gotta pump my bags up. Pump it up, XRP to the moon. Pump it up, pump it up. Pump it up, gotta pump my bags up. Pump it to the moon, pump my bags up. XRP, pump it to the moon. Pump it up, pump my bags up. Pump it up, pump my bags up. Gotta pump it up, pump my bags up. Pump my moon bags,